Yeah.
Welcome to the Wednesday, May 22 business meeting of the Richmond Community Schools Board of Trustees. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have the reading of the mission statement, please.
Richmond Community Schools guide students on pathways of learning to a future of limitless possibilities.
And the reading of the mission statement.
Richmond Community Schools, a collaborative community nurturing mind, body, and spirit to prepare students for lives of choice, purpose, and service.
Thank you. And next, if we can move to celebrations.
President Button, trustees, I ask that Mrs. Bridget Hazelbaker, our communications coordinator, come to the podium to introduce tonight's honorees.
Hello, everyone. We'll be highlighting two different student groups tonight. The Richmond High School boys basketball team had an excellent 2023-24 season. The varsity team finished with an impressive 20-4 record. They placed third in the North Central Conference with a 6-2 conference record. They were ranked 12th in the state by the Indiana Basketball Coaches Association at the end of the season. Some of the team's major accomplishments included winning the Bob Weddick Tournament Championship. The junior varsity team went 14-5. The freshman team went 14-2. And the entire program combined for a 14-11 record across all levels. I'd like to invite the players to come up to the podium and ask questions. This is just a portion of history, but everyone, there's some that are in
Spring
jobs.
sports, jobs, you name it. Hopefully work on the game for next season. But thank you for having us. Appreciate your support. Our court is always open. If you ever want to come to a practice or a game, definitely appreciate Mr. Stevens drop by one of our practices this year. It's kids. We appreciate that. So our door is always open. Questions for us or our players? Hey, what if you could, if you all could just introduce yourselves and share what year you are and what you most enjoyed about this past season, I think would be great. Starting with Coach Durbin.
My name is Luke Durbin, Coach Durbin. I'll tell you, probably the most enjoyable for me is just watching the kids grow from when we saw most of the kids, freshmen, sophomores, to where they are now, juniors, seniors, and going on to college. It's it's been a joy that really I didn't anticipate, and it's bittersweet a lot of times. So.
My name is Mason Carpenter. I'm a junior at Richmond, and what I enjoyed the most was just being able to have fun with my guys all season and just never always being positive. It was a positive season. I'm Brandon Holland. I'm a junior. What I enjoyed the most probably just being around them at the bottom from the start. My name is Julian Smith, senior, and I would say overall just getting a better bond with everybody over the season, being able to go out there, win some, lose some, and just know they still come back.
The nearest mention, I feel the shooting contest brings out everything. Pretty competitive group, and we have fun. We win some, we lose some, but that's my favorite thing. And he made his first career 3 this year. It's one of those, no, yes.
Also had the best percentage on the team at 100%.
I think we were up 25. I said, if you guys want to try anything out of context, make sure we're up like 20.
My name is Lewis Smith, head JV basketball coach. Enjoyed just number one being next to my mentor, Coach Wright, learning more about the game, and also developing new children, not only with the sport but also in the school as well. So.
Hello, I'm Ron Dean, assistant varsity coach, and the thing that stands out for me the most is the unity of the team, the brotherhood, and the all-in spirit.
We do have something for you, Dr. Wright.
Well, actually, before that, if we can, I know that for the past 3 years, we have been celebrating student achievement, whether it be in the classroom as well as even extracurricular. And I know that the boys' basketball team has been a staple of celebrations, just as we've had other extracurricular programs. I know that we tried to get you all in after you had won what I think is about to be presented to me, your second consecutive Bob Weddick Memorial Tourney Championship. And we also understood and knew that you all were in the heat of battle for the remainder of the season, and we had to get through and prepare for a sectional tourney. And so now having an opportunity to celebrate you all, I think is befitting. And I know with the seniors on the way out and the juniors and underclassmen still here to continue the legacy, we just definitely are extremely proud and appreciative of what it is that you all continue to exhibit and display on a daily basis. And I also know that you all are getting it done in the classroom. And I know that you oftentimes don't have any other way to go about it with the coaching staffs and the expectations that they have, as well as the parents. So kudos and congratulations, board members. Comments, questions?
I've got a comment. I just want to say that winning streak that you guys were on was exceptionally fun to follow. So thank you for that. I just really enjoyed it. I was like, oh, they got another win. They got another win. So thank you for that. I enjoyed it.
And I would just add, thank you to the coaches, thank you guys, and thank you to the students. And it was a good reminder for me when I'm not very athletic, but to hear, pretty much everyone spoke about the relationships, and relationships are so important. And you build those in the classroom, you build those at work, you build those on the basketball court. I almost said field, but court, basketball court. So thank you for a good reminder for me of that.
And they also have some royalty on the team this year because our prom king, correct?
Yeah, prom king.
On the court and at prom, they got it done this year.
So everything that I mentioned impromptu manner in January, it holds true today. We talked about how you got along with each other, the camaraderie, the spirit of winning, what you exemplified on the court as well as in practice. And that was very evident every time that you stepped on the court. We were able to watch you. And I remember also telling you wanted to make Tiernan Center the place to be in this area on a Friday night and Saturday. And you can tell by the attendance, crowds, not just in the Bob Weddick tournament, but throughout the remainder of the season. The people that followed you, even away, you're making the statement there. I know you've got some great young people coming up, in the future. But remember the legacy of 2024 that you've left and the standard that you've set, because, you know, I said it then, 10 years from now, they'll remember you individually, but they'll remember the team. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll,
And we do have extra t-shirts, and if you would like a championship t-shirt and or just a Richmond basketball t-shirt, just shoot me an email. I don't want to assume anyone's size, so just tell me what size you want. We have plenty. Okay.
Gotcha, thank you.
and for young men that were not maybe paying attention, but our board is 100% behind you guys. I remember Stephen's reference. I know he addressed you all, but Member Stoltz during the alumni game was actually on the floor as a cheerleader that evening, jumping up and down at halftime and cheering.
I was gonna say, and Miss Victory.
Along with Member Pickering, I apologize, along with Member Pickering as well, who again were right there along. They are leading up. We do have.
We can splice it in your next board for this.
I talked to Ron about trying to get rid of it.
Again, congratulations. Thank you all.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And we're also going to celebrate an awesome, exceptional group of students. Our Richmond High School Fine Arts team, they were ranked first in the state here in the state of Indiana. They placed third in the Fine Arts Division at the Indiana State Academic Meet at the University on May 4th. The team is comprised of Captain Deanna Cravens, members Dio Goss, and Marcy Hartman, and their sponsor is Robin Nicholson. So will you guys please come us to the floor? So you guys let's explain a little bit about the Fine Arts team for us. Come step a little forward. We have a microphone. Thank you.
So as the Indiana Association of Principals, they come up with a topic every year, and our topic this year was the 1980s and 90s. So we were watching the 1989 Batman and listening to the music, and we were Jean-Michel Basquiat and some modernist architects, and just some really cool Indiana Jones, just some really fun stuff, and some like hip hop music, experimental music, and it's been a fun season. So if you guys want to, maybe can we do the same thing? The basketball team share our names, yeah, and maybe something you guys thought was really fun to study this year, okay, or any experiences, yeah. Okay, yeah.
I'm Marcy Hartman. I'm a junior, and I really liked a lot of the music stuff. We explored a lot of different cultures that I had not been exposed to, and it was really interesting.
I'm Hannah Cravens. I'm a senior at Richmond High School. And I think my favorite part of it was Jean-Michel Basquiat. It's really interesting. His story was really interesting, and his artwork's very interesting. And I kind of got obsessed and made a lot of Quizlets online to use and picking our study materials. It was pretty interesting learning about him. So yeah.
I'm Dio Goss. I'm a junior, and I liked memorizing which pieces were by which artists. It's I really like memorizing things. I felt like I was good at it. I was good at it. So.
And you guys were great, and I think because it's visual art and it's music, I think we had a really good mix. Hannah is first chair violin at orchestra, and then we have Dio and Marcy, our ribbon winners at the Albany County High School art exhibition. So we have the visual arts and the music, and I think we really had a winning combo. And they gave me a heart attack when they almost scored a perfect score on our state qualifying on the regional meet. They got 18 correct out of 23, and I really thought I was going to have a heart exactly. That's why I was watching. I still had to proctor another team. Yeah, I don't know. I'm really proud of them, especially like competing against some of the most affluent big schools in our Division One. Just to kind of show up some of the Indianapolis schools and compete. And I think it's super sweet too for Hannah because freshman year we went to the state competition, but it was online in Mr. Hilbert's room, like on the projector, and we placed 6th in the state in 2001. So it was cool to place higher. Yeah.
Congratulations. And one of the things that I mentioned just some time ago, and I mentioned throughout the course of the year and for several years now, is just the student achievement and the academic excellence as well as the extracurricular excellence that you all displayed. And as you referenced, this is the first year that you all scored so high. So what I'm curious to know from you all of the legacy that you all have left. What are you most proud of when it comes to the legacy that you've left within the art department and for some of your peers to follow?
I guess I'll go first. I think definitely is striving for excellence. I think it's not easy, but I think especially in music, I mean, it's really competitive in certain areas, especially with academics. I felt that in both areas of my life, but I think striving for just the best thing possible that you can make to the point where you really feel satisfied with what you've made at the end of the day, not just like what people see. Like that was really that was what that's kind of the legacy I have. So yeah.
I like feeling like I was having fun, but like we were still doing so well. Like I really felt like I was like just like hanging out with friends and stuff, and like we were like so it was fun. It wasn't as like scary or like nerdy as I thought it was.
So you overcame some fears there.
Probably trying something new. I hadn't really done anything like this, and going into something new is exciting, and I hope other people push themselves to do something that they hadn't done before.
Questions, comments? Cool.
I have a comment. I'm very impressed. Sorry, guys, but you are my people. I was on the fine arts academic team when I was in high school. Never made it to state. Never accomplished what you accomplished. But I understand the depth and the time and the investment and learning the material and the pressure of the tests too. So congratulations.
I would just add congratulations to all 4 of you. I think that's tremendous. He's my neighbor, so and Hannah, I believe Jack introduced me to you a few years ago. And you have been in this room so much. I think you need to sit at the table. So congratulations to you, all 3 of you, and particularly, I know you have very bright futures. So I'm very excited for all of you.
I'm curious. So the theme, the 80s and 90s, I love it, by the way. So is that a typical theme, like to do a,
They're all, so last year was the Spanish Golden Age, so it was like the 16th century. So they really mix it up. I know we listened to Weird Al, like we really went out there. Like,
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I know. And then the year that we also went to state, it was 100 Years of Women. So it was 100-year anniversary of women's suffrage. Yes, they're all over the place. Yeah.
Like, had you heard, Hannah, you mentioned Jean-Michel Basquiat. Had you heard of him prior to?
Yeah, I've heard of him before, but his life story was just really interesting.
Okay.
So it allowed me to really deep dive on that.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love it. Very intriguing. So, congratulations.
Well, before we come up and take a photograph, again, Batman '89.
Yeah.
Great selection.
Yeah.
Arguably the best superhero movie, and there's so many things within it. So, again, congratulations to you.
Next, we'll move on to our highlights and happenings.
President Button, trustees, for this evening's highlight and happenings, our cabinet members will surely discuss and share with our public, as well as those in attendance, the tremendous shippings that are occurring within Richmond Community Schools. However, prior to doing just that, the one highlight that I wanted to acknowledge is the fact that last week, I believe it was, or the week before, I'm sorry, 2 weeks ago, the Indiana Association of School Business Officials, which is the true authority when it comes to school finance in the state of Indiana, appointed and recognized our very own Karen Scout as their current sitting president. And as we know, with such responsibility, with such honor and such claim comes such responsibility. I know that she's been carrying the torch. Therefore, I asked for some time, and now as the current sitting president, right here, one of our own, is a tremendous highlight. So for that, again, congratulations, Mr. Scout. Moving on to the happenings, we have two entities with us this evening. One being Dr. Look at that, Dr. Edwards. I threw it. We were together this afternoon. I drew a blank. Dr. Edwards, from Administrative Assistance, who has been with our corporation along with the outfit, working with us in partnership. We also have Communities in Schools, Ms. Becky Murray and Ms. Katie Stevens, who will also be sharing a brief presentation about some of the things that they have been doing successfully and can also continue to offer our corporation. So without further ado, Dr. Edwards and Administrative Assistants is going to share with us their opportunities and offerings when it comes to strategic planning. Dr. Edwards, I believe we have, yes, your PowerPoint presentation up and ready. Lighting together for you.
Yeah, we put together a simple PowerPoint here. My name.
That's okay. Go ahead. Continue.
My name is Steve Edwards. I'm a consultant for administrative assistants. I've worked for administrative assistants for 10 years since my retirement as a superintendent. And coming back to board meetings, this is pretty special. First of all, I will commend the board. I really like the fact that you're honoring these students before the board. I think starting with, I think that's great because that's what we're in the business for, our students. So I commend you for that. To the board members, the administrative team, to Dr. Wright, I'm certainly pleased to be here this evening to talk about strategic planning and how administrative assistants might be involved in that process. As I said, we put together a PowerPoint. You've seen this slide before. Kind of the, I couldn't get away with not having this slide in because I report to other people and they own the company. And in 2007, the couple gentlemen started our company, and today we have maybe 65 consultants working. Many retired superintendents, retired business directors, and we do a number of projects for school districts, anywhere from interim superintendents, interim principals, interim assistant superintendents, superintendent searches. We do strategic planning. As you know, right now we're involved in the realignment study here at Richmond Schools. And we're quite frankly, we were excited. We're pleased to have that opportunity to work with the realignment study. It's been exciting, and we're excited to be here this evening to talk about strategic planning. As our team of consultants have worked with Richmond Community School with the leadership team, we've interviewed board members, we've interviewed teachers, we've interviewed community members, we've interviewed parents. It's really been a pleasurable experience, and we've learned a lot about your school district. Let me say, you have a lot to be proud of in Richmond. There are a lot of great things going on in your school district. A lot of great things. This is my opinion, and I've been in a lot of school districts. This would be a wonderful place to work. This would be a wonderful place to work with children. So I commend you on that. But through the realignment study, we've learned a great deal about the school district. So with that knowledge, and we talk about the strategic planning process, I believe that administrative assistants is in a unique position to assist the school district with the development of a strategic plan. We have learned a great deal about the school district. And I have to say, most of it's been very positive. This is a perfect time to consider a strategic plan. I didn't realize it until today. It's my understanding that your plan right now is expiring. So you're looking at a new plan. I didn't realize that coming into it. But I know that as a follow-up to the realignment study, and here in a week or two, you're going to get a report from us, and it certainly is something for the board to consider, the administrative team to consider what you want to do with realigning your grades here in your school system. Whatever steps you take there, a logical step would be the development of a strategic plan. They go hand in hand. A strategic plan ties together everything that you would want to do in a realignment. For example, it's a whole school district. And I like to break it down into 5 key areas: academic achievement, effective human resources, effective financial planning, good school community relations, and effective operations. And if you tie all those things together, that pretty much is in a nutshell what school districts are involved in. And when you tie that to the realignment study, it can be very positive. When you look at a realignment study, there are steps that you're going to have to take. Certainly the strategic process would be part of that. What is a strategic plan? Well, as I said, I'll try to keep this simple tonight. You'll have a lot of people that may tell you about a strategic plan. It's a pretty simple process. It's an ongoing organization process that documents the school district's intended direction, establishes goals, strategies, and moving in that direction. And most importantly, it names gatekeepers, if you will, champions of those strategies. I'll give you an example. If the school district wanted to improve high read scores for 3rd grade, that very well could be a goal. The strategy would be, how do you do that? Well, you say the teacher in the classroom is going to be the most important part of that strategy. Absolutely. The principal monitoring that teacher and making sure that the strategies that are put in place are followed is very important. But somebody at the district level has to tie it all together, because you don't have one building, you have several buildings. You have 6 elementary buildings, 6 ivory programs. So when we talk about the champion, somebody at the district would be responsible for making sure that those strategies are being implemented. They're being implemented the way you want them implemented, and that the district is moving forward, that there's no drift. So that's when we talk about the champion. A strategic plan aligns stakeholders, employees, in the goal-setting process. In a moment, I'll talk about the process that AA uses. It can be flexible depending on the needs of the district and what the district leadership would determine. But whatever that process is, you're going to work with the stakeholders, teachers, administrators, community members, board members are all going to be part of that process. So it aligns everybody in that movement forward, all working together, and it prioritizes efforts and helps guide the allocation of resources. When I say prioritizes efforts, whatever that, there may be some things in the school district right now that you want to achieve. There are a lot of things you want to achieve. Let me say that. Restate that. But you may have a strategy in place or something that may not be working real well. And there may be another strategy that would be a much higher priority if implemented. That's the purpose of the strategic plan, to identify and prioritize those important strategies as you move forward. and the allocation of resources, time, money, and manpower. What are the benefits of a strategic plan? I compliment you for looking at one. You know, some districts, I know yours is expiring, but some districts will operate years without a strategic plan. Been around a long time. And some school corporations, that's the last thing they want to look at. But really, as the heart and soul of school districts, that is your guide for moving forward. What are some key benefits? Define a vision for employees, stakeholders, administrators, as I said. Everybody's involved in developing the plan. So it unifies the vision that those people, when they look at the school system and things that need to be done. It's transparency because everyone's aware of the goals. As you develop the goals and strategies, all stakeholders are involved in that process. So it's a transparency. And what it does, because of the transparency, it can foster a sense of responsibility to the organization. We all are in this together. We're all working on a strategy. We're going to make it work. It identifies strengths and weaknesses. Certainly, that's part of the organizational process in strategic planning, identifying weaknesses and strengths. And certainly, looking at an outside entity involved in helping with this strategic plan is wise because many times for us working closely in a district as an employee, we have emotional ties to certain things that may or may not be working. We like them, it's status quo, it's comfortable, but it may not be where we need to go. And that's why it's important to have an outside set of eyes saying, well, maybe we need to look at this differently. And that's what I mean by hidden strengths and hidden weaknesses. Sometimes it's a hidden weakness because we can't identify it. We're too close to the forest to see the tree. And sometimes we have a real strengths that we, quite frankly, overlook. And really, one of the key benefits of the strategic planning process is it can help with relationships between administrators, employees, and community members. The elements of a strategic plan and whoever develops a strategic plan, these are the key elements. There must be core values and beliefs. I looked at your website before I came in. I see that there's 5 or 6 core values that the board has identified. Well, in this plan, we might help you identify more, and we may stay with those, but it's a work in progress. AA, if we facilitate this process, we don't alone identify those goals or those core values. You do, your employees do, everybody working together. The vision and mission, I was pleased to see tonight that you read the mission statement and vision statement before the board meeting. I commend you on that. Right, that's all. But through that process, you may want to rework the vision. I don't know how long it's been the mission statement. Looks like a good one to me. You may want to rework the vision statement, or you may not. But those are 2 key parts of a strategic plan. Obviously, the goals are very important. Those are what you want to achieve and moving forward. Strategies, those are the actions, obviously, that help you achieve those goals. Champions, I've already talked about that. Somebody in the district or some bodies who's responsible for making sure, as a district, you stay online. Resources, you put together a strategic plan. It may cost money, may not. But the resources are also time. It may mean more time for certain people. It may mean more manpower, and it may mean more money. A timeline, a begin and end date for the strategy. You can't go on forever. You build a strategic plan. You want to achieve that goal. You want to implement those strategies, and that's where the timeline comes from. And obviously, the final part is the evaluation, because the goals should be stated in measurable terms. And the evaluation is a key. Evaluating, did we achieve that? Did we not achieve? I've been doing a lot of talking to Tammy all the time at fire this place. The process, this is what AA has done. It can be done in a couple of ways. One thing we've done, working with school districts, is we've conducted surveys of employees, of all stakeholders, board members, community members, and asked them to give input on what their perceived weaknesses are for the district and their perceived strengths. And then we bring committees together, and a committee should be a diverse group. Again, there should be board members on committees. There should be parents, teachers, administrators coming together to work on developing these four parts of the strategic plan. I'm going to say committees can, the last strategic plan I worked on the school district, I think we had 4 years. And those committees can, again, that's up. We work with school districts. That's really working with administrative leadership to define what those committees would be. But things like academic achievement, extracurricular activities, effective evaluation. There are many different committees that could exist. And once we get the community input back from the surveys, the committees then take that input and they discard it, agree with it, and they may develop their own set of what they consider core weaknesses and core strengths. Another way we can do it outside of the surveys that we've done is focus groups. We go into the community and have focus groups of people to give us feedback. I quite frankly think that the surveys work better because I work with focus groups, nothing wrong with focus groups, but there's always a strong personality in focus group. There's always somebody that can dominate a focus group. And there's always individuals who are reluctant to speak up over that dominant individual. So I think the surveys are a good way, but we can, AA does it. Keep pencil. And over a period of time, meetings, we developed the key elements of the strategic plan, strategic plan. I would say this, AA is a facilitator. When we work with school districts, strategic planning, we facilitate. We work with people. It's not our plan, it's your plan. You will help us write it. Probably whoever the administrator is right, but everybody will have input. And it's imperative. This point is important. It's imperative that the decision makers on the administrative team be involved in the process. They're the individuals that have to say, no, we can't do that. We can't spend that much money. Or we can't do that because of time requirements. Now, our policy will allow that. So it's important to have those key decision makers as part of the committee structure and giving us input as we give input back. That was quick. Questions that I can.
Once again, we sincerely appreciate you being here and forgive me for the misstep. Dr. Cottle, your partner, was with us last time to discuss the administrative assistance options when it came to services that you all have been providing us. And I know that your other partner, Dr. Stubbs, and the administrative assistants, you all have so many different, but Dr. Stubbs is a Richmond High School graduate. And I know that he has met with some of our members. So we again appreciate you being here and trustees, questions, comments, suggestions for Dr. Edwards, administrative assistants.
How many schools have you worked with developing specifically the strategic plan?
Strategic plan.
Yes.
I did one down at South Spencer. I did one at Sullivan, Northwest Sullivan. I just finished one in your county, Wayne, Western Wayne schools. Those are the 3 that I remember. We had team members with them 7 years.
Okay.
Logan Sport, million, 20 months, Ross. My background, just recently, some of you may recall, once he went through a very bad time in school. I was the appointed state emergency manager for 2 months. And then I did that, and then the last project I finished was strategic plan Western Line. Pretty close to the line.
And just here recently, I know that Muncie Community Schools will be undergoing leadership change. Dr. Kyra Kowski is retired. Dr. Charles Reynolds, aka Chuck Reynolds, who used to be here in RCS, is going to be the new CEO. I know that with Ball State commandeering.
Well, you know, I apologize. That last year I was the first year I was the emergency manager of Muncie Schools by state. And then, if you recall, the General Assembly took over, created a partnership with Ball State. So Ball State kept me on as the interim. So as that year went on, I struggled. I mean, I wasn't real popular in the school district. You're never popular when you come in as a thug from the state, you know, and start doing things that people really aren't very comfortable with. But I really needed some help. We looked at a couple of people, and lo and behold, Chuck Reynolds contacted us, was interested. So I'm the guy that brought Chuck Reynolds back. And I had nothing to do with the rest of the Muncie life. I had nothing to do with it. I know they left here, but that was beyond me.
Well, and you know, the reference was that one of the references that at this juncture, Muncie Community Schools has had a pendulum change. I think the state has recognized that of late.
We started in July of 17. To tell you how bad it was, we didn't think we could make a payroll then. And we did. We sold a few buildings. We negotiated a contract. And yeah, Muncie today is a much better place. But and Ball State is really helping. Ball State has what I criticize. Ball State appoints the board. That's been a real plus for me.
Other questions or Mr. Fowler?
No, I just wanted to say thanks for doing this tonight. Thank you for you and your team and all the work with the realignment study. I know that was a lot of hours spent interviewing parents and families and
You know, I
teachers.
can say this, I don't oppose it. And I don't want to overstate the law, but I would say this. We really enjoyed that process. Obviously, we're not done. We're completing the report now, but getting to meet people in the system, getting to meet and work with community members, administrators, it was a lot of fun. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. President Board of Trustees, I'm now going to ask Mrs. Becky Murray and Ms. Kate Stevens and Communities and Schools to join us in conversation for a brief presentation as well. As they're making their way up, not too long ago, I believe, last Thursday or Friday, I believe we all met for a second time. Last Friday, it's all running together on me. But I know we have been meeting here recently and have arrived at decisions, and we're looking to fine-tune the decisions that we all arrived at, and to know that the continuance of communities and schools and Richmond Community Schools, the partnership that we've had for some time, is going to only evolve and get better. And I think tonight you're going to share some of those things with us. And so the floor is yours, ladies.
Thank you for having us and giving us the opportunity to bring you up to date to the things that we've done over the past year. I'm going to read what I have to say because if not, it won't go well.
Take your time.
Because I just get a squirrely moment. So I just want to tell you a little bit about Communities in Schools. Communities in Schools is an organization designed to surround students with a community of support, empowerment, and empowering them to remain in school and generally achieve in life. We adhere to the principles that every student has needs and is entitled to a one-on-one relationship with a caring adult, a safe place to learn and grow, a healthy start and future, a marketable skill upon graduation, and a chance to give back to peers and the community. Site coordinators achieve our mission by analyzing and implementing needs assessments at the beginning of the year, and they start planning the process, integrating student supports, monitoring and adjusting, and evaluating those students and what we might be able to do to help them. All of which occurs in 3 tiers. And I'm just going to mention those tiers. She will talk about them a little bit more. Tier 1 is a school-wide service. That means anyone who's in your school. They need anything whatsoever. That's a tier 1. Tier 2 is a targeted program, and those need a little bit more, one-on-one possibly, and sometimes groups.
And then tier 3 is an individual support, that is a one-on-one. RCS School Corporation has acknowledged for the last 21 years that CIS, through its site coordinators, fill a pivotal role as the single point of contact working inside the school buildings to provide integrated student services, and that site coordinators connect students and families with community partners and resources that address both academics and non-academic needs. The school and the students also benefit from the assistance relative to academic assistance, behavioral intervention, college and career prep, life skills, physical and mental health, family engagement, and overall enrichment. When we have met the last 2 weeks, we've met with Dr. Wright, Billy, and then Bridget. And so they asked me to talk also a little bit about our stumbles this year. So I just wanted to highlight a few of those. One of them being employees, maintaining and finding staff. I cannot make promises regarding this, and I'm certain no one else can. It is a nationwide issue that even you are dealing with. We hear it nightly on our news, and we are not alone in this crisis. The staff I have may not come back due to the uncertainty of their jobs. They thought they would come back to their schools and continue working with the students, watching them grow and making a difference with them one little gesture at a time, and then handing them off to the next site coordinator at the next level of the school. My staff are many students safe adult, and it's the only safe adult that they feel good with because they know we're not connected with DCS or anything that's going to be, oh, mom's going to be upset with me and I really need to tell somebody I'm hungry. So they are sometimes that safe adult for them. RCS is not the only school system that I was unable to get someone to cover this past year. Unfortunately, it has been countywide. The second thing that I wanted to kind of not stumble through this coming year is communication. Communication came to a sudden halt in December. I made some attempts to keep it going, but then it stopped when there was no answers to the attempts. It is important for the communication to continue so that this very thing that is happening right now does not happen. Respect and consideration are vital to the partnership when it comes to our young people. After all, that's what we're all trying to teach them every day. It is not an easy job, as you all know, dealing with so many buildings, personalities, and cultures. Without regular communication, a lot can happen. If we meet as leaders, we can stifle the biggest parts of gossip by showing a united front. For instance, this week, I have had staff clean out their spaces in their schools. I did that because I know, given the numbers that I was given at our meeting on Friday, we absolutely will not be able to maintain all staff. This has caused a great deal of sadness, tears, anger, and uncertainty, not only for my staff, but yours, and most of all, our students. As the executive director of CIS, all of this is hard on me, but most of all, the students' reaction is unbearable. I do my best to communicate with my staff as things are happening. I hold their employment in my hands, which is how they provide for their families. So I take it very seriously. My goal currently is to get an agreement with RCS to move forward with the 24-25 school year so that I can plan and work with my staff to keep those that I can. Due to last year's struggles with staffing, RCS agreement will include a credit for this coming year of those times when we could not fill the position. I know that I can never ever give you a refund, but I can certainly make it right by making sure that you have that credit going forward. And that's what I've done for another school that also fell in the same category as what we are here with Richmond. With the credit, I am producing the first agreement for 24-25 school year with my staff being at the same buildings, same hours, and if not accepted, then will we need to meet to negotiate that the coming year will look like sometimes in the next week or so, because it is time for my end of year is June 30th, and I'm in budgets. So those are the things that I just wanted to share with you before Katie shared with you what our numbers look like and our services look like in your schools.
And how do I make this go to the next page?
It should be arrow on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I did it now. Sorry.
Okay, everybody put that one out.
You know, we're hoping. Oh, I was gonna say we're all in trouble if I'm helping with technology.
Fabulous. Okay, my bishop touched it. Okay, so I'm going to share numbers for this current school year. So we're looking at July 1 because sometimes in July, parents of students that have already been on the caseload in the previous year will reach out to Becky and myself, and we will gather up supplies in the summer and have that ready to go as soon as the students come in. So they don't have to have an odd 5 minutes where they don't have a backpack. They have a backpack waiting at the front door for them the first day of school. So we get that ready for parents. So that is why I backdate all the way to July 1 to cover those situations as well. And then it's until today at 1:17. So it is current as I could possibly make it to prepare. So I'm going to brief on the schools here in Richmond. And if you have any questions, I'm going to stop intermittently because it's a lot of numbers and a lot of information that I live for. But sometimes outsiders looking in, they're like, what is going on? So the chart that you're looking at currently goes over the elementary, middle, and high school. And then the combined area, which is the bottom, is Hibbert and Dennis together. And that's just the way that our system breaks it down. If you look at the columns that are academic, attendance, and behavior and school climate, those are what the school decided the goal would be for the current school year. So our site coordinators meet with their principals and decide, okay, our school goal for this year is going to be as follows. So they might want to focus on academics if, their numbers were lower. If they want to focus on attendance, that's when they would do that at the beginning of the school year. Looking at the saturation rate column, we have, for every school, we have a 10% saturation rate. Now, some of these are lower given the missing employee. That's why they would be lower. But with our missing employees at the school buildings that they were missing at this year, we did still serve 9.47 of your population at Richmond. So we were very close to that 10% threshold of the population of RCS. We were able to serve close to 10%. And we go off the 10% for our national affiliate. That is what they say is to keep us credited with national, we have to serve 10% of the school districts that we are in. So that's where that number comes from. Maybe. Tap the screen once.
Well, so question real quick. So does that 9.47 put you in jeopardy of losing accreditation then if you're supposed to have 10%?
So end of year, actually to Friday is the first phase of end of year. End of year for me, it's something that I do with national, and they would say, okay, explain why it's at 9.47 and not 10. And I would say, okay, the population at example Richmond High School is X amount of numbers. We have 2 site coordinators there, positions there. We have 1 site coordinator there for the school year. That number is a little bit lower because it's very hard for one person to service 10% of Richmond High School with the population being so big. So I would just kind of explain and they would say, okay, got it. Because so many affiliates throughout the US are struggling with keeping in retention just because the issue nationwide. So I would just have that conversation with them.
So
yeah,
a quick question. So what categories? Just in practice, it seems like CIS touches a lot of kids, kind of pass through. For a kid to show up on this chart, I'm guessing that's a little higher level than just grabbing a snack occasionally.
So
what gets them on this page?
Yes. So my next slide, if I can get there.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. I'm struggling. Any student that we interact with, even at tier 1, how Becky explained, that's a whole school interaction. They go in as a tier 1.
Okay.
So, okay, perfect. Thank you. Right in the middle of the page, it's 29,568. That is the amount of students that we were able to service as a tier 1, just a tier 1. So that would be anything with mobile dentists for elementary schools.
that would be a service of a tier 1. If we did hallway supervision, we would put that into our system that we did hallway supervision, put the amount of students approximate that we saw. That's how those get included in there. Because some of them are just say, hey buddy, I'm glad to see you today. How did your weekend at mom's go? And it's a quick interaction, but our site coordinators put that in their data when they're doing their daily or weekly data updates. So that's how those numbers populate.
Mr. Weber, we do not serve children at the tier 1. They don't have to have a consent from their parent. So 2 or 3 have to have consent from the parent for them to be working with us.
And that 29,000 number is multiple kids. So if I see Charlie multiple times throughout the school year, every time I see him, it gets totaled in there. So it's not saying 29 individual students. Of course, we don't have that as enrollment here. So looking at the pie chart on the left talks about our supports. So that would mean if we did talk to Charlie and it was just maybe a family engagement category. So we talked about his weekend with his mom. Our site coordinator could put that under family engagement, and that would be this section in yellow. Behavioral intervention is the biggest section. That is a high need at RCS. Our site coordinators do a lot of just calming down a student, or they go to their room to talk. A teacher might call them to their classroom to just sit with the student for a little while, to be that person to kind of mellow them out. So a lot of our check-ins as tier 1 would be behavioral intervention. That's the red section. And I won't go through every individual one because you guys can see the pie chart up there, but let me know if you have questions. Some things that we do support at tier 1 level would be, a big one is VSP vouchers. So we have vouchers for eyeglasses that we would give to any student that needs them. Now, if we give them a voucher for eyeglasses, obviously there's a need at home. So we typically send home a consent form to try to get parent to sign it. Some parents won't. They just won't. And so we have to serve them at a tier 1 level. And that's okay. We still are going to serve the child when they're in our school buildings.
And to back up to that, many younger ones, they'll get hit in the face with a basketball, or somebody was tumbling and kicked them. So we can't give them another VSP form, but Lions Club backs us up. So when that happens, we reach out to the Lions Clubs and they say, just let us know and we'll send you a check. So we have a backup to that too, because we can only give them one.
Are there any questions about tier 1 support?
Yes. What does academic assistance look like in tier 1?
Yes, so academic assistance would be if you were in a classroom and you were helping with iReady, preparing them for iReady in 3rd grade. Or if it was testing week and you were just helping get kids shuffled from maybe like the, I'm going to say recreational time of like, we don't have to do a test right this moment, but we're going to do this little worksheet and then have a little free time, and the teacher might be doing something in the classroom to prepare for the test. So things like that when it comes to tier 1. Or academics. Academics typically, the reason that number is smaller, they're typically group, which is tier 2, and one-on-one setting, which is tier 3. Those numbers are always higher than those two. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, going on. Thank you. Again, this is school goals, and this is from, like I said, 2 dates. So all of our data will not be complete until the end of the school year. And that is why our staff stay 7 days after school lets out to put final grades in. So these numbers are as true as they can be, but we still have a couple of, 7 days or so to enter the final grades once teachers release those. And these are green. I always say green is good. That means those students in that category for the school goal of academics, 67% was able to be achieved. The orangish yellow color is no progressing, which means they did not climb, but they did not go down. And so that's good. That's still positive to us. The one that is declined would be the red section. Attendance is an issue countywide for sure. And our site coordinators do the best they can. They will contact the parent and send home alarm clocks. Or they will say, okay, buddy, as soon as you get here on the bus, I'm going to be out there when the buses come in. And if you see me, come in and grab a pack of Skittles or, like something as an initiative to get them to school, because sometimes either we're relying on the parent to wake up get their child dressed and get them there. Or the kid has to wake up themselves and get on a bus. So the attendance portion isn't always necessarily the child's fault per se. Behavior the same way. There's students that we absolutely were able to help and progress. Students that stayed the same, and then some students that did decline on behaviors. Any questions on that?
I have another one.
Yes.
When you talk
Questions are
about
good.
Skittles or backpacks, or is that part of your budget, or you're the middleman and you get a community member to donate that to you?
So both.
Okay.
We have partners like Belden that we would go and speak to, kind of like what we're doing here. This is what we were able to do for the community. These are the bullet points on why you should support us, and they might say we're going to donate $2,500, and we would put that either in Ready Set Grow, which is a general fund that we could use for things like backpacks or incentives like Skittles. We don't buy those; we get those donated, but that was an example. We could. But then we also have people that just want to donate things to us. So they might donate Skittles or Slim Jims. There was actually a story of an individual that it was an RCS little boy that he had to take Slim Jims home over the weekend because he didn't have food. But if he took anything else home, his stepdad would take it. But a Slim Jim, he could hide it. And so there was a company that was like, let me give you all the Slim Jims, so situations like that, it takes a special person to be able to let our site coordinator to connect with that student, because they're not going to tell a teacher, hey, I don't have food and my stepdad takes it, when there's 15 other kids sitting there. So that's one reason site coordinators are very important. Slim Jims always, sorry, I always think of that. Any other questions? Okay, moving on. Okay, so this is the student portion. So this is always like the fun part for me, because it shows that our site coordinators, tier 2 and tier 3 are so important. Tier 1 obviously is important because you're helping the whole school, but tier 2 and tier 3 are students that really, really need our support. And they're ones that the parents, as soon as they come to back to school night or they're filling out their information online, absolutely they're going to sign that electronic consent, because they know what CIS is and what we've done in the past and how we can help now. So looking at the left side, it is tier 2. So some of our tier 2 would be lunch groups. So we might have 2 or 3 of our case managed students that come in and sit in our offices and eat and just talk. And it's honestly a time that they can open up and just be free and be themselves, and they don't have to worry about academics or anything outside and in the classroom. Another thing would be homework groups. So that kind of goes along the academic portion. The homework groups would be some of our teachers would say, hey, can you work with Johnny on this test? And they might go into their class or go into their room and read a test to the student. And then this is another section where if we gave just a couple students a snack, we could put it in the tier 2 section. And we also, at one of our RCS schools, our site coordinator started a book club. So for the 4th grade, she had a group of boys or girls in the 4th grade that would read it was at the end of their recess time, and they did a book club. And it was something that they were interested in, and those students would rather be in a book than playing. So she developed that for the 4th graders. On the right side, it is tier 3. So that's a one-on-one support. So I mentioned the behavioral intervention. That's a big one. Also, the just case management category is the biggest blue section. And that's a huge umbrella, because case management can be literally, I'm going to say anything, but it can be that quick pass in the hallway and we write a note in there, said hi to Johnny. So case management is a lot of what we do, because it's hard to document every little thing that we do. Like Weber had mentioned, it's hard to say, okay, I passed Johnny and did it all in the hallway, so we put it under case management. But we want to track all the times we do talk to students. Mentoring is also a tier 3, so we have our mentoring program that we bring students and caring adults in the community together once a week for 30 minutes, and they go in typically during their lunchtime and recess time and just hang out with them. So that would also go under tier 3. And our site coordinators are the one that makes the connection. Once the mentor gets to the building, they make the connection for that student and get them together for the day. Tier 3, there's another situation that was actually at Dennis just a couple of weeks ago, and this would be a tier 3 example. We had a young gentleman that was not going to be able to go to the dance. And so our site coordinator reached out to me, and it was, I literally think it was like Thursday even maybe, I don't remember. And she was like, what can we do to get him close for the dance? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go right now. And so I went out to the east side of Richmond and got him pants, got him a shirt that matched. I actually called my sister and I'm like, does this match? Like, I want to make sure this matches. Like, I need a second set of eyes. And she was like, does he have socks? Like, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to buy him socks. So I literally, from the belt to the socks to the pants to the shirt to the shoes, was able to get this Dennis student an outfit so he could go to the dance. And when I dropped it off to Dennis, he was so excited. You could tell he was nervous. He had his head down, but he was like, oh my gosh, like smile, hugest smile. And he was very grateful for that. So I'm super thankful that we have someone in the school building every day for those instances. And me and Becky can go and meet the need right where they are. So I'm very thankful. Is there any questions over any of this?
I have a couple. How many mentor adult volunteers do you have now that go in to meet with students?
About 45.
45. And then how do you get students how do you get connected with students and how do you get connected with parents? Like how does if I'm a parent of a student, how do I know about CIS? And if I'm a teacher, how do I know about CIS?
Comes in different forms, which is really kind of an oddity. Sometimes it can be a bus driver, it could be a cafeteria worker, and they'll say, hey, I've noticed that she comes in every day and then I see her going, she's taking food. So we'll tell the site coordinator, or they will tell the site coordinator, you might want to talk to her. So we do that. We do a lot of push on Facebook. We try to make sure that people in the community know that we're here. It is one of the best kept secrets I have to share with you. I'll be here 10 years this coming month, and it's never a day goes by that somebody doesn't say, what does communities and schools do? And it's not an A to Z response. It's on the need of a child and what they need and what someone in their life or has noticed that they need. And so they bring it to our attention. I mean, it's really very difficult to get that out to everyone because not everyone cares to hear it. And sometimes that takes 15 times for them to hear it to go, oh, Joey lives down the street. I talked to a woman the other day and she asked me what I did and I told her and she said, I have to tell you this story. She said, I've lived next to this lady for probably 20 years. And she said, she has children and they were out playing one day and their feet were just soaking wet, no socks or anything. And so I went in the house and got her some socks of my son's and took them to her. And she was so appreciative. She said, I can't afford socks for my kids. So she told me, I told her school, which happens to be in the county, and then we connected and we've been able to not only help with those things, but they also did not have a bed. Kids were sleeping on the floor. She didn't want anybody to know that because she didn't want DCS to come up and say she wasn't a good parent. We have bed to backs that we provide, and we provide a lot of those to the kids in the county as well as here in Richmond on a regular basis. So that's how we find out. Sometimes it's by a hiccup. Sometimes it's on purpose. We do have parents who reach out to us and say, I've lost my job. My husband left. My husband's in jail. My boyfriend did. I don't know where I'm going to get my next meal. Waiting on a place to live. That's how we find out. They'll find out from someone that we're a safe place to ask those questions to.
Thank you.
Before I go on to this next slide about grades and things like that, because that's what that demonstrates. When I got choked up and about cried on you guys, I forgot to mention the amount of items that I had shared. I ran the report for April 30th. So when I sent that out and shared that, we were at over 2,000 items that we've provided to CIS, or CIS provided to RCS. And currently, as of today, we have provided 4,340 items to RCS. So that number is significantly higher if you compare what I had sent you to now. And those items are across the board as far as bed in a bag and belts and hats and shirts and all the things that I was stating before. So I did want to point out that number because that is well over, I'm going to say 2/3 of the items that we've provided to all of our school districts just this current school year. Okay, so progress monitoring is grades for site coordinators. They do them every 9 weeks. That the teachers are doing grades, my site coordinators are doing grades. So they track what they've done with the student throughout the whole entire school year. So they can go to the student that they're tracking for attendance that really hates Mondays and never comes on Mondays. They can say, buddy, you've missed 4 of your 9 Mondays. And they have those check-ins every grading period with students. Site coordinators have the check-ins with students to kind of hold them accountable. So not only is the teachers holding them accountable, the site coordinator also can hold them accountable because they actually have to go in and manually put in those grades. Progress monitoring, that's put in those grades every quarter, just like a teacher would. And this demonstrates where we've been so far. So a lot of grade, which is good. And then you, of course, always have this few students that will decline, as well as the orange section where they stay the same, which in our eyes, staying the same is good. And then we would set higher, maybe even like 1% or 2% higher for next school year with our students that we currently serve, because we as site coordinators also have to iterate to the students that they have to set goals for themselves. So if you got a 79, well, let's really push for that 80 next school year. Those conversations are always happening and good for students. The gray area that is the no data is just the gap of we still have a few days for the end of the school year for grades to be entered. So that's what that is. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, the last few things that I want to share, and I think that's the last, that's last night. So typically in our July board meeting with CIS, I have a spreadsheet for every superintendent who sits on our board at CIS. I have a spreadsheet that gives comparison of last school year to the current school year. So they can see, okay, what growth has our caseloads at our schools had and what declines have they had. And declines, like I said, they are expected. We don't love it, but they are expected. Some years there's going to be a lot higher need. Maybe that class had a lot of students in it, and now that class coming into 7th and 8th grade are a little bit smaller. So I do those breakdowns for all of our superintendents in July because I think it's very important for them to know where your school is at as far as a CIS standpoint. Another thing for our site coordinators, they absolutely go above and beyond just the core services. If you were to look at a job description, I almost hate like sending the job description to someone that I'm interviewing. So I'm like, there's so many other things that they do. And it's hard to even explain without being a site coordinator. And I'm thankful that I had the experience of being a site coordinator and then I moved up because I can really relate to my people. You know, I can explain to them like, today was hard. The kid with the Slim Jim, that is hard. Go home, think about it, and let's get on to the next day because there might be another kid that you don't know about that really needs a Slim Jim because the same thing's happening to him. So we have to show up every day. We have to be there, and we have to make sure that we're that one person for those students because it takes one caring adult to make an impact on the student. And that 100% in my eyes is a site coordinator.
Our site coordinators are really exceptional site coordinators. You know, if you come to work and you happen to be the principal in a building and you have no one at the front desk all of a sudden and you're like, oh, you know, this is not good. I can guarantee you a site coordinator is going to step up and say, let me answer the phones for you for a little bit. I'm not going to see Johnny or Charlie for a little. I'll answer the phones until everybody gets stuck. If they don't have somebody in the lunchroom, they will jump in and do that. It's because it's for the kids and so that the kids don't see that drop. It's a consistency. So whatever they need to do to help throughout the day, they jump in and do that. And I'm very proud of them. There's several sitting right there. So I even have one that's no longer a site coordinator that stops in and volunteers 3 days a week at a school that she was a site coordinator at because we weren't able to fill that position. She comes in 3 days a week and volunteers and makes sure those kids have what they have. And the principal has connections, and then she connects with me and Katie, and then we go over. So I'm very proud of the staff we have.
Thank you.
Speaking of the staff and prior to our members posing questions, comments, or suggestions, I just want to pose a question for clarity. I know that when we met last Friday, we had discussed that we would, RCS would be committing to renewal of the MOU. I know that, and I'm not sure if something has changed since we last met, because I know of the roughly $90,000 of ESSER monies that we know is going to expire. So that ideally falls off the proverbial table. But pre-ESSER, I know that the school corporation had committed as much as $122,000 per year. And I know that as we go into 24 to 25, as we discussed, that is still something that we're confident that we're going to be able to still meet. I know that of the credits, if I recall, throughout the course of the conversation, I think collectively are confident that we'll be able to still provide some of the same options. I'm not sure if that's changed since we last met, because when you say that folks have packed up and are thinking about not returning, I know that's what we want to prevent.
Yes.
Truly. And so I'm not sure if something has changed, because I know that.
I think that the number that the 122 that was thrown out, there's addendums to your agreement.
Okay.
So the total agreement was well over that. It was 186.
Oh, okay.
So that's where that discrepancy came in.
Okay.
Because the 122 is on that first page, but then those additional addendums that came in for the additional funds and the additional hours was on those back pages of addendums.
I see.
So
I see. And so ideally, of what you're referencing is, now that you've had a chance to go back and put some more numbers, there's some other challenges that have come about. So I
a
think
lot less than I thought, but yes,
yes.
there's challenges. There's
Yes.
still very much missing.
Yeah. So we'll definitely address that in time and come back to the table. Probably ask sure. Trustees, questions, comments, statements.
I guess my question kind of goes back to Dr. Wright was referencing with the original contract and then the addendums. The original contract was 120. When were those addendums added, and what services did they add that weren't in the original?
They were added at the time of the original agreement. We were requested to put them in as additional addendums because of where funding was going to come. So your original contract was probably at 20 or 25 hours in the school systems. Those were increased, and that was during COVID when the PPL money and ESSER and all that stuff comes to be. So that's when the additional 80,000 was added, and then there's 8,000 Title I that helps with the elementary schools. So the agreement itself has always been clunky because of those addendums, but the addendums were needed to be able to keep things in order, I think, as you're making payments from different pots of money. Most of my other superintendents, it's just a flat, here it is, and they figure it out from behind the scenes. So it just depends on the school district of how they need to see it, and we try to accommodate how they need it to be seen.
And I know that's one of the other things that we had discussed throughout the course of our meetings was the fact that as we continue to revise our administrative protocols and practices as we move forward, and we've continued to improve each year, making sure that as you referenced, will also be going back to reflect as far as the systems and structures, levels and systems of accountability, checks and balances, some of the rubrics that your site coordinator will use in the meetings with the principals. And once we get all those things really where they are, allowing you all to get back to the core of what I think your services have outlined within your mission and vision statements. Because as you referenced, of the things that those amazing site coordinators have done throughout the course of the year, continue to do, the goal is to make sure that they're providing some of those tier services and maybe not answering questions or serving other administrative details like
Things happen.
Right.
Things happen, and that's why we're there to support the kids in the school system.
And I know that one of the things that you had referenced, you all had referenced when we all met was the feedback that we were able to provide throughout the course this past year. I think some of the meetings that you all were having with Mr. Billy Wright and some of the, I think one of the things you mentioned is that I think we are one of the only schools within the county that has designated someone as a point person. And I think you all mentioned that that's been relatively positive.
It was fabulous because he met with us when Dr. Wright asked him to take that lead with us. He met with us on a regular basis every month from August to December. And in December, everything came to a halt, unfortunately. And it was so critical to me because when Katie and I were able to sit and talk with him, he was able to share things that we needed to be aware of that we never hear. And we were able to share with him things we were hearing that he would never hear. So it was just so wonderful to have that as a leader because a lot of places don't do that. They would rather skirt it, hide it. So it was very important to me. And so when it came to a stop, I didn't know what to do, and there was no response. So things kind of fell apart then.
And I know that some of the other things we discussed is being able to mimic some of the successes you all had in other county school programs around the county to bring those to bring some of the successes you all have seen there. But with that, other questions? I'm sorry.
I want to thank you for being here, the open dialogue. This is great. You know, I've seen a lot of value personally to what you guys do. So thank you for that as well. Thank you to your site coordinators who are rock stars day in, day out, not just in the schools, but pounding the pavements. So I love that. Again, I feel like this open dialogue is very important for, you know, yes, we see you as far as your retention and recruitment issues. And then of course you've got to understand from our perspective fiscally, you know, we've got to make decisions that are fiscally sound, you know, and then, yeah, the communication component though, let's keep talking, you know, but again, just, I want to say, we really do value the relationships that have been built in those schools, outside of those schools with those students, because that's serving our district. So I guess what I'm saying is thank you, and let's see what we can do here.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having us. I mean, it means a lot, and I do think we'll come to an understanding. We'll be able to get to that dollar that we need to get to. I hope it's not going to be 122.
Well, and I love, you know, the credit for the coming year. That helps us figure out,
yes,
okay, what does this look like, and then also just, you know, we need the staff, really, you know, but what does that look like if we can't get them? And so I appreciate your efforts on
thank you
on all of those fronts.
Well, thanks for listening to us. It meant a lot.
I just think so.
Thank you.
Alrighty, President Brunton, trustees, I am now going to turn our attention to Chief of Elementary Education, Mr. Rick Baker, for his highlight and happenings. Mr. Baker.
I got a few quick highlight happenings for you. Highlight is our 3rd and 4th grade students are showing an improvement or showed an improvement on their iLearning scores from previous years, as they did on iRead as well. And then the happenings. So last week, 4 staff members from each building were trained on M-Class Dibbles, which will be implemented next year for K through 2 reading assessments. And then the adoption of Witness is moving along. We've met with them a couple different times. Thanks to Board Member Weber. They continue to drop the price, even about $10,000 more on shipping the following day. And so everything is moving along well with that.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Chief of Secondary Education, Mr. Mark Fowler.
Yeah, so we were very, very excited to find out that Crystal Cooper was named Principal of the Year for District 6. So the cool thing about that was her peers in the district outside of Richmond Community Schools are the ones who selected her. So she didn't know that she had been selected. We got an email that said she was a finalist. And then we found out last week that she was the winner. So I will say winning came with a cost because the sheet that she and I have to fill out has about 50 links. It is, boy, it's a lot. So we're going to fill that out and she'll move on to be considered for state middle school principal of the year. So we're really, really excited for her, and she's done a phenomenal job.
We'll be celebrating she along with our teacher of the year and others next month.
The other two happenings that I wanted to bring up were Dr. Wright, Mr. Billy Wright, have been going to some of our secondary buildings with a team of seniors, and they have been, the student advisory team has been presenting to the secondary students. I got to see and be a part of one at the high school in McGuire Hall. And it was really, really wonderful for two reasons. One, it's great to see seniors actually articulate what they've experienced, right? I think that's really good for them. I think as they're saying it, it's like, wow, that's really true. And then the second thing is it's good, especially for the dentists as they get ready to go into high school and the freshmen at the high school to see kids that they see in AP classes, on the athletic field, talking to them really personally about, man, I struggled with some things in high school, and had I known this my freshman year, I'd have done things very differently. And so those were really, really good. And it was good to see the kids were really engaged, and the panel was awesome. We had the Career Education Awards, which was wonderful to see all the different CTE offerings we have and the kids who have done wonderful in that. And then we had our Class of 24 Honors and Awards as well. Which, man, I believe they said $3 million is what was given out to our students in scholarships. It was just an unbelievable morning to see the senior class, and so it was awesome. It was great.
I've got a question. Yes. So you mentioned as far as the senior student advisory team, you mentioned, some people going on to college and some, anyway, I just wanted to know if there was anyone representing like a career path, like going directly into a career that was part of the board, like part of that panel.
For the panel, the student panel. I believe so. I know what they were speaking.
Yes, there was a student in the automotive field, and
awesome.
We also had the TNT.
Okay, great.
Fire TNT, so we have veterans representing that group as well.
I love it. Just wanting to make sure that that's represented, as that's
it was
an awesome path for a lot of our students.
It was a really cool panel. Yeah, it was great.
Okay, thanks. Did you have something else for?
No, I just want to say one more thing before we go on. I was going to type something up and I decided not to, but you're going to see in a little bit on human resources my resignation for June 30th, effective June 30th, 2024. And I don't want to make this about me. I have the opportunity to take a superintendency in another school district, but I want to let everybody know that when people leave, sometimes a false narrative is created. And my time here in Richmond has been amazing. And the cabinet crew that I've worked with has been the most talented group of educators I've ever worked with. And it's difficult to leave. I've enjoyed it greatly, but this is simply an opportunity that I can't pass up. Has nothing to do with anything negative towards Richmond Community Schools or negative toward anyone with Richmond Community Schools. It's been great to work with Dr. Wright and crew of this table. So thank you.
Yeah, and I guess I will take the opportunity to say the same thing. You'll see my name. I'll try not to get emotional. Yeah, Dr. Wright's been amazing. The board's been amazing. This team has been a joy. And, anybody who says anything different doesn't know. And yeah, it's been great.
Well, gentlemen, you stole some of my thunder for the adjournment as well as post human resources, but we definitely appreciate your sentiments and your words. And with that, we will move to Mrs. Elizabeth Margaret, our Chief of Exceptional Learning, for highlighting. I think Mrs. Margaret.
Thank you. Well, I want to thank Brent and Mark. It's been amazing to work with both of you over the past, Brent 2 years and Mark this year. So thank you so much. I want to highlight Cassie Laudermilk. She led our broad-based planning committee last Wednesday. All Indiana school districts are receiving grant funding supporting high ability programming are required to have broad-based planning committee to design and monitor the continuous development and implementation of the levels of services for high ability students. We had several of our building high ability coordinators attend, as well as parents. So I just want to thank them for their time and input for our programming for our high ability students. And then my first happening is field day for our K to 12 applied skills students was last Thursday. This is one of my favorite days of the year because the K-12 students all come together for a few hours of fellowship, teamwork, and shared memories. And then they get to see all of their friends who have moved on to buildings that they shared some time with. And then of course, old teachers and paras. So it's just a wonderful day together. And our next happening is TBRI training. Our first training for phase 2 will be on May 29th and 30th. We have, since I wrote this, now we have about 172 paras and teachers signed up for that training. And if the board ever wants to participate in the 2-day training, we have these 2 days. And then we also have July 16th and 17th. So if you're interested in learning more and participating, just let me know. I'm happy to get you signed up.
And I apologize, I got emotional and skipped something.
Take your time.
Take much time as you need.
We do, I did want to share, I know Brent mentioned some iLearn results and the improvement in that. So typically when the iLearn results come in, the first couple of days, we don't really do much with them because the state is doing data cleanup as it's sending them back to us. So the number tested and the performance bands all change significantly. However, the state did say that we were able to start digging into that data. So I've done some preliminary results that I do want to share. And then in June, we'll have some in-depth data. But in math and English, in grades 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, in both math and English, we saw increases from last year. 3rd grade math, 3rd grade English, 4th grade math, 4th grade English. So in every grade level, the only grade level we did not see growth, and it was in math and English, was 8th grade. So 3 through 7. Some there were huge gains, 8 to 10%. Some there were, marginal 2%, 3%. But it was actually unbelievable to see that across the board, grades 3 through 7, there was progress made academically. The other thing I'll show is I kind of did it in a way where you can track cohorts because I think that's important too, right? How did they score in 3rd grade versus 4th grade versus 5th grade? And so anyway, that's the preliminary results. We do know that we saw gains in every single grade level but 8. And so I'll try to come back in June and have some, I don't want to say super detailed, but information where you can look at it and say, okay, there's actually progress happening. So anyway, I did want to share that.
And one more thing I will share is, I'm not going to be able to speak specifically to the subject because I can't remember, but I think it would be like 3rd grade math and 4th grade language arts or vice versa. We are right at the state average for passing, proficient, above proficient, within a few percent in those grade levels. So we had a couple schools that were quite a bit over the state average. So we even had a couple perfect writing scores at Vail.
In 6th grade, I'm just looking at, in 6th grade ELA, we saw 8% jumps. And so that is a big deal to see that type of gains, and especially grades 3 through 7 without exception. Every grade level.
And in short, in June, there will be a more thorough presentation during our business meeting. But in short, it's really a testament to the all the work collectively that everyone's put together. You all, as a board of trustees, to lead the charge, provide the resources and supports. Our central office leaders, our amazing building level leaders, our faculty, staff, communities and schools, Centerstone, Meridian Health, all of our corporate partners. The community as a whole, and then most importantly, the students who, as we are seeing such results, are increasing their learner confidence. And going back to some of the visionary perspectives that I've shared, our students have the confidence to learn and continue to grow. And the sky becomes the limit. So
That
Thank
was
you.
a bit of a mic drop, so good job on that.
I had it on my list and I realized I couldn't see it through the tears.
You didn't even call us principal out of the seat.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well done.
Well, with that being said, we'll move to, can we, oh, yes.
On the TBR training, I was able to speak with, drawing a blank on her last name, Amy. I believe she's with the Indiana Judicial Center, which is the organization that helps with the funding for the TBR training. And she was very complimentary on RCS being a leader in that area. If there are seats available for the training, are there partner organizations that are in the school that are able to use those seats, such as CIS and whatnot?
Yes.
Because that makes sense since they're helping with behavioral and whatnot.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
okay, so that training starts Thursday next week or
Wednesday, Thursday next week, and July 16th and 17th. And we'll also have one again in the fall for teachers who are unable to attend the summer training. So I think we could also work on training community partners then as well.
And that's something that you'll follow up with, this like CIS, but it's not sense to me.
Sure, absolutely.
Mrs. Selesky, one of the things you just referenced, when you referenced judicial, it just jogged my memory. One of the other folks in attendance during our meeting with communities and schools, the effervescent Mrs. Murray, Mr. Stevens, was Mr. Corey Jordan from the Wayne County Probation Department. And one of the things that he also referenced, I know that it was also alluded to, is that there may be some other avenues and other venues when it comes to grants, funding, that collectively we all could explore as a county, as a city, and as those who work with students. And so I know that as Mrs. Margaret mentioned, the TBRI has been a major effective resource that we utilize. New to our dais here is Mrs. Melissa Swafford, our interim chief financial officer, and she's going to share her highlight. Mrs. Swafford, welcome back.
For my highlight, I chose the IASBO conference as well. I was very thankful to be able to attend the conference. It was lots of good information. I met some people in some similar situations, and we've already reached out and talked to each other since the conference. So it was a great experience. I also got to see Karen take over as the IASBO president, so that was nice too. For my happening, I just mentioned our ECA treasurers are working to close out their school years, and they'll be working this summer on that, and that we are very thankful for everything they do and their flexibility for some changes that have happened this year. And that could have been a highlight probably, I'm not sure, but
it's okay.
That is what I have for my happening.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Swafford. Tremendous job. Mrs. Karen Scalf, our Chief Operations Officer.
Yeah, so the day in the life of operations changes at the literal minute by minute sometimes. And so I did share some things that were in the board update, but I'm going to do a little bit of different stuff today because it has been an interesting week. So I just want to send a super huge shout out to Chris Pegg, our HVAC technician, and Brad Cooley from Cooley Contracting. They spent 13 plus hours. Brad spent much longer than that last night at RHS trying to get us back up and running. Some equipment went down that we did not expect. Who knew it would be 90 degrees in May? We're used to August weather like this. And so, but they spent a tremendous amount of time and effort getting us back up and running. They spent more time today here. We had companies that have been with us off and on throughout the project, but on site, immediately responding, making sure that they could get things working. And so huge thank you to them for making some magic happen as quickly as possible. I just want to say thank you to all the staff and the students at RHS. I know it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable anyway because it's 90, and when you have a school building and 90 degrees, it's not exactly the easiest way to do that. But it's always challenging in the spring when you're trying to bring systems on because nothing ever works just right when they've been off for 6 months. So So we are trying our best to make things happen and get things in a good, comfortable position. I know the school's almost out, but it has been fairly cool for a lot of the spring. And so just a huge shout out to them, a huge thank you just for their response. And then I want to make an all call. We have seen significant responses to our hiring fairs for bus drivers. We have some that have been preliminarily in the hiring position. They have to train and get licensed, so there's some work to do yet on that. But we are making some headway there. People will notice that we have giant yellow signs out. Some are bigger than others, but some are real big, just with information on how to apply. We could use the help, and our drivers have been doing everything they can to make things as good as it can be with such a shortage. And thank you to them and to the staff at the bus garage. But we really could use the help. So I know that we heard this evening from CIS that staffing is a challenge, and it's real. But we have every intention of being fully staffed for the start of the school year, and we do thank our parents for their patience with that. And then one last thing. I want to say thanks to John and Cindy Kate. They have lived almost, I would say, down at McBride the last couple of months, and we are seeing a tremendous change in how the fields are looking. It was kind of funny last week. Somebody mentioned to Mr. Kate they remembered when the lines were in the field and the crisscrosses, and that was a challenge. So he went out there, and it looks really great. And so a huge thank you to them. They have been out there nearly every day and every night, and even on the weekends, getting it where it needs to be, working with our maintenance staff to try to get things moving as quickly as they could for the season with the athletics staff. Mr. Kate is down there tonight because we have a sectional game being hosted there. And so just a tremendous amount of help that they've offered us. It's been kind of fun listening to all the stories from Coach Kate and all the history there. And so I do appreciate everything they've done, everything they continue to do, and the smiles that they have on their faces while they do it, because it is very hard work, especially in this hot weather. So just a huge shout out to them.
Thank you, Mr. Scout. Thank you to the team. We're now going to turn to another gentleman and scholar, not so much new to our day. That's from Mr. Stacy Mops, our interim Chief of Human Resources, for his highlight and happening. And Mr. Mops, I know that we have you across and over yonder, as they say in the South, but I know that one time you were amongst the trustees. So, Mr. Mops.
Well, Dr. Wright, I appreciate you skipping me to let me compose myself after Mr. Fowler and Mr. Baker made their announcement. You saw I was pretty upset about that, so thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to compose myself.
Yes, sir.
And I want to piggyback on what they said about the growth that we saw in our testing that we just recently had. And we know that the number one factor in that are the human beings that are teaching our kids and taking care of our kids, the staff and faculty. And so for that, the week of May 6th was Teacher Appreciation Week. So that Friday, I was able to load up the family truckster school van with, I think it was about 150 cakes. Actually, it's about 17. And Mr. Fowler and I, and Mr. Baker, and I think Miss Markford helped us out. We delivered cakes to all of the schools, including Warner, the bus garage, and Chartwell's, the food service. And it was a blast. It was a lot of fun. And just a super small token, and not nearly enough to appreciate what people do in our buildings every day. So that was amazing, and I really enjoyed that.
And I do realize after that, they welcome you at open doors if you're carrying cakes.
They do. They open the door and roll out the red carpet.
They do. It was amazing.
And going along with that, throughout the year, we've shown our appreciation once again to our staff. So last Monday was our last mobile coffee bar, and it was at the high school. We could not do the mobile coffee bar at the high school because it's the high school. So we set up donuts and had a kind of a buffet of drinks for the staff to come down and partake of that. And once again, very appreciative they were, but it's nothing compared to what they do on a daily basis. And generally, we go door to door, and Dr. Wright's been there, and the entire cabinet's been there, and we get to go in and interact with the students while the teacher and the paraprofessional and all the other adults are out getting their treats, and that is a treat for us, I think, to interact with those kids. It's a lot of fun. So we've completed that for the year. And then the last thing I want to talk about is our policy working group. We went through a lot of our last meeting that we had, and some of those were things that were just passed by the last legislature, and we were able to, you'll see some of those later on today. So we got a lot work done.
Moms, thank you so much, and give kudos to you and the department for what it is that you all continue to do. And yes, the mobile coffee carts and their kit cakes. I know that Mrs. Scalby and Mrs. Robert, we all were with you all in spirit as we were there at IASBO. But yes, we too heard that doors were open and then the red carpets were rolled out for those cakes. But
We also got to do some recess duty.
Oh yeah, that was a blast.
I've never tied so many shoes in my life. In recess, I endorse Velcro.
About threw my arm out throwing wiffle ball and then playing fetch with the wiffle ball because there were just two of us, the guy that was hitting it and me chasing it. So that was fun. And Mr. Baker, I saw his arm as a quarterback too. He was pretty good. By the way, Mr. Fowler got beat in Connect 4 by first graders 4 games in a row, and then he quit. Actually, the kids quit playing with him.
30 seconds.
Yeah, the kids quit playing with him because
I
he
was
was
building confidence.
I met him in the parking lot as he was leaving. I was coming in, and he was, I am terrible at connecting.
A lot of happy first graders.
Great, thank you. We will move on to public commentary. Cindy, do we have 3 persons. Okay, great. For those who wish to comment at this evening's board meeting, the maximum time to speak is 5 minutes. Please put your comments based and within the time permitted. Comments are not to be personally directed or abusive. Comments recognizing the work of staff and students are always welcome. However, critical remarks concerning specific school personnel or students are to be made throughout the complaint process available in policy 9130. School board members do not respond to public comments during the meeting, but you will receive a personal follow-up email from the board president. Great, we have the first. The band. Good evening. If you can state your name.
I'm Melissa Vance. I live in Richmond and work at the Chamber of Commerce. So I have an opportunity to work with the school and your students in various ways throughout the year. And Dr. Wright serves on our Community Leadership Council and a lot of collaboration going on. So I want to start off by saying just thank you for the work that your team has done throughout the year to collaborate with the employers in Wayne County and with the chamber and all of the things that have been going on. And some point I would be happy to come and share more about some of those things. I know that, for instance, recently at the hiring fair, I got an email this week, Monday, I believe, from Blue Buffalo that they have hired 2 of your students that interviewed at the hiring fair. So we'll be working with them to do a signing day, maybe on site out at Blue. But just one of the really exciting things that we have seen happen, and we want to see these students succeed, whether that means going to college or technical training or going directly into the workforce. So that's exciting. And like I said, just the work that you all do in your leadership, but then that trickles down to the principals and the teachers and others in the school. So thanks for that. The reason that I came this evening is to talk about my experience with communities and schools. I serve on the board. I'm wrapping up my 2nd term and will be transitioning off in another month. And it will be very odd for me because I've been on the board for 2 full terms. I had a break off the board prior to that, but had served a term again prior to that. So I think a total of 9 years total. working with this organization. And the reason that it is important to me and I became passionate about that is because I had an opportunity to meet a special young lady that was a friend of my daughter's at school when they were in high school. And their freshman year, my daughter came home and she started telling me these stories about this new girl at school and some of the issues that she was having. And there were many, many steps that happened after that, that this young lady became connected with the site coordinator in her high school. She had never received any services prior to that, but she had an extreme need for a caring adult in her life. And she needed clothing and she needed food because the only food that she had at her disposal was expired. She needed toiletries because she didn't have any toiletries. She needed an opportunity to take a shower when she got to school. And so the work of communities and schools helped her through that for the next 3 years. And the day that she turned 18 in November that year, her parents decided she was no longer welcome in their home and she was homeless. And the principal and the counselor and the site coordinator all knew this was coming and she needed a place to go. And because she had been friends with my daughter, they called and asked if she could come and stay with us. And we said, honestly, we've never even met this girl because she was not allowed to do anything. She wasn't allowed to have any interaction outside of school. So they made opportunities for us to meet with her and get to know her briefly. And we decided to welcome her into our home. And that was in 2010. And this young lady who was told she would never amount to anything in life, she would never go to college, she would never become anything, has graduated because of the help of that site coordinator and her counselor, principal. She graduated with honors. She applied to colleges, she was accepted. They helped her overcome some of the issues with FAFSAs because her parents weren't going to fill out the FAFSA for her, which created barriers. And she now has her bachelor's degree in accounting. She's been very successful in the finance field up until a year ago when she had her first baby. She and her husband welcomed a little girl and she's now a stay-at-home mom, but she is so successful and such a delight and our daughter in every way through and through. And I'm not saying that because of anything that I have done, but really we've been blessed because of the work. So just wanted to give you that little story and clips about my passion. And thanks for your work with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Next person is Kristen Jones.
Evening. My name is Kristen Jones and I'm an EL teacher at Vale and Star. I wanted to take a few minutes to thank a few people who have greatly helped our department. Last month, RCS held pre-K kindergarten registration and our instructional interpreters from all levels worked the event. Their help was amazing. Thank you to Pam, Rosie, Terry, Melanie, and Sandra for helping our EL families register their children. And if you haven't ever seen what our families go through for registration, I encourage you to sit with one of our families and one of our interpreters because it is a very long process. Also, a special thank you to Mr. Stacy Mops, who also served as an interpreter for our event because we wanted to house one interpreter at every building. Also, now that they've announced their resignations, a huge thank you to Mark Fowler and Mr. Baker for your support of the EL department. It has been an extreme pleasure working with you. I've never worked with other administrator cabinet members who have taken a true interest in what we do. So I appreciate you greatly. Thank you. Lastly, I wanted to thank Alex Hazelbaker for his technology support during our annual WIDA testing. This year, there were a couple snags with it. It was not anything that he did. It was just some miscommunication with WIDA, DRC, and our department. But yesterday, I sat through a Read a Technology webinar just to get prepared for the 24-25 school year. I emailed Mr. Hazelbaker all of the technology requirements that were going to be happening yesterday afternoon. By this morning, he had everything checked out in our network, and he assured me that our department will be ready to go. So his proactive approach to our EL screening and annual read access testing is greatly appreciated. Yep.
Georgia. Hey guys, you know me, but I'm Melissa Jordan, I'm the principal at Star, and I'm not going to miss an opportunity to share some of the amazing things that are happening in my building and some of the amazing people. You know, I'm always willing to talk about the great things. And tonight I do want to talk about communities and schools. I have been blessed, and all of our students have been blessed to work with Kathy Canis, Lynette Dellenbig, and Katie Stevens as we're working through just daily life. The communities and schools experience is one, and I'm talking personally from the administrator side of it. I do not know what I would do without. Lynette and Kathy was the same way. They hit the academic support and the behavioral support and all of that on a daily basis because we know kids cannot learn if they don't have their basic needs met. And just we have the 10%, but that does not cover nearly what our coordinators do. Just at START this year, 1,199 different items have gone out to our students. That's mittens, coats, shoes. I don't even know how many shoes. And it's just been an amazing thing. And so when we were looking at data and things, because I know, like Katie gave great numbers, but just in my building alone, there were 5,292 different incidents where Lynette was able to meet the needs of a child. And so that affects every single one of my classrooms, every single one of my 245 kids. The CIS people are the definition of selflessness that we strive for here in Richmond. They do things that completely come off my plate that there's no way that I could do without them. Mobile dentist, I don't have to worry about. It's organized, it's covered by Medicaid, but beyond that, this year there were grants that CIS got, and so we were able to meet the needs, the dental needs of families because they don't have the proper paperwork or they're worried about other situations. We were able to meet their needs. And kids whose teeth were rotting out of their mouths are getting help. Then we have mentors that come in and talk to all of our kids and meet with them. Then they organize all of these community resources. Our village is huge. There are so many people that want to help our schools. But if we're all coming to me or my secretary or my clerical or anyone else in my building, I would be able to talk to them, but would not be able to do what they do with organizing all of these resources. Families are able to connect to those resources that are in Richmond, like getting help with their electric bills, getting food from Circle U, those kinds of things that I can't do, that they do. They coordinate all the volunteers that are so integral to what we do. And like Lynette alone this year has helped organize with some of our volunteers. And twice this year we had family and community meals. And we did one on Thanksgiving and one at Easter that she helped coordinate. And we had over 450 students and their families come to those. I could not have done that on my own. She has organized a partnership with Redbox. And we've had donations that before breaks, before Christmas break, before spring break, and we're sending them home tomorrow. Every child is getting a bag of food that has bread and snacks and things so we know they're not going to go hungry. It's just one of those things that you don't know what you're missing until it's gone. I don't know what I'd do without her. And it's a situation where our families give back. There's one family that relied heavily on communities and schools the entire time her kids were at STAR. she was able to get a hand up through that. She's now a manager at Dollar General, and she gives back to Star and to communities and schools through that, which is an amazing thing to say. So I just wanted to come tonight and just say thank you for all the CIS does. Thank you for all you guys do. They truly are rock stars.
Next, we'll move on to our consent items.
President Brunton, trustees, I come before you for approval of consent items 5.01 through 5.05 and the addendum that accompanies 5.02 human resource report as presented.
Move for approval.
Second. President Brunton, if you would just briefly state what each of those numbers.
Yes, I do.
We're not so permitted to just refer to matters by agenda number and by agenda item.
Sure.
5.01 approval of minutes. 5.02 human resource report and addendum. 5.03 accounts payable. 5.04 monthly financial report. And finally, 5.05 transfers as presented.
I have a motion from Member Stoltz and a second by Member Stevens. Questions or comments?
Not happy with the HR report.
Should we not approve that? You know, approve that?
I don't think I can change
Okay.
it, so I'll vote along with
Okay.
it, but
Okay.
yes.
Agreed.
But really, thank you both. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
You're set to see.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Vote passes 6-1.
President Brunton, trustees, for action items 6.01 through 6.12, I'm going to ask that our CAT join me in requesting retrieving approval. First up, for 6.01 through 6.04, Melissa Swafford will introduce the action item and subsequent request for approval. Mrs. Swafford.
So the first one I have is for donations, and we received 25 donations since the last board meeting. And the total amount is $10,477.06. And we ask for a motion to approve the donations in the amount $10,477.06 as presented.
I move to approve 6.01 donations as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Member Stevens, a second by Zaleski. Questions or comments?
Thank you.
This list is amazing when we look through. I mean, so many different departments, automotive department and athletics, business professionals in America, all of those programs getting donations is fantastic. And we appreciate all the donors who are giving to our students.
I have just a quick question. Is the donation form, or do we have one on the website?
Say more.
Do we have the actual donation form on the website?
The donation form is on the website. Mrs. Hazelbaker, I'm not sure if our form.
Okay. Yeah, if not, I don't really have a form. Okay, so we don't. Okay.
You got a Venmo.
I've used the donation forms in our school systems for a decade. I can get one of them.
Okay.
Give us an idea what they look like. But most school systems have like a QR code right on their website. They'll allow people to fill that out and just submit it when they do their donation.
So I know the Alumni Association has a separate, been working with them for the alumni cheerleaders. So I've had some people ask me about, especially, there's a lot that goes to the athletic department and just, wanting to give that information out to the public just to make it easy. So, yeah.
So if someone is wanting to make a donation, what do they do?
So the easiest way to make a donation, because we will take them for all kinds of activities. So we have donors that will specify, we have donors that don't want to specify, and they'll say at the discretion of the superintendent or at the discretion of the principal. And so they can contact any building and talk to the principal about any needs they may have. If they want to specify it straight to a building, we have that very often. Sometimes they'll talk to athletics, they'll talk to the athletic secretary or the athletic director. Oftentimes they'll talk with Mrs. Wolpe. I know she was here earlier. And then she's still here. Yeah. She's hiding. I can't see her from where I'm at. I don't have my glasses all the way down, right? So so they can contact principals, they can contact the business office at any time, and they can coordinate any donation services. So if they call our general number, if they want to email, contact information for staff is on the website. So they can email anyone on there, and everyone would be more than willing to help them.
And as we continue to explore other opportunities for alumni and other patrons to contribute, I think we're going to take a full assessment of how to make it as user-friendly as possible. So
yeah.
we definitely take all of our donors.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because it would be nice to have a QR code or a link online to just.
You never know, someone's gonna make us move, they just.
Yes.
I think we got someone.
You know,
very
they, or they
capable
can have
doing it
positive,
over there.
you know, they have a positive experience, it's easy to just click and send before they decide not to. But
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0.
Mrs. Roberts, 102.
Okay, so the second item I have is your request for additional docket. Due to the early board meeting in June, we would like permission to do an additional accounts payable docket. This docket would be approved by the board at the July 24th, 2024 meeting, and this would allow us to pay our vendors in a timely manner and close out funds where necessary. So we are asking that the board grants permission to process an additional docket in June 2024 as presented.
Move to approve the request for the additional docket.
Second. I have a motion by member Stoltz and a second by member Pickering. Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0.
So for the 6.03, resolution number 244-3, resolution to transfer appropriation. The Board of School Trustees of Richmond Schools approved the transfer of money from one major budget classification to another. If the transfer does not require expenditure of more money than the total amount set out in the budget as finally determined, and if the transfer is approved at a regular public meeting in the proper ordinance. So we have attached the transfers that we did since the last board meeting. And we are just asking for a motion to adopt the resolution number 20404-3 as presented.
So moved.
Second. Motion by member Zaleski, second by member Stoltz. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Vote passes 7-0.
Swap 6.04.
This is the Toshiba contract agreement. It was the agreement to add an additional copy to the bus garage for Richmond Community Schools. This is in the amount of $4,041.96. We are asking the Board of School Trustees to approve the agreement between Toshiba and Richmond Community Schools as presented.
I move to approve 6.04, the Toshiba contract agreement as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion by member Stevens, a second by member Stoltz. Questions or comments?
Yes, why do we need another copier at the bus garage?
So I can speak to that. When we replaced the fleet over last summer, the bus garage was not included. and their copy machine was on its very last legs. So this year we needed to replace that. They had a very old Xerox machine that hadn't been in our district for a really long time, but it was in good shape for a long time. So they weren't a part of the original fleet move that we were going to see how long it lasted, and it just wasn't working much anymore. So over this summer, the plan is to replace that for next school year.
How many copies do they make a day?
Well, I don't have that number off the top of my head, but you do have to have access to a copy machine. So they use it for faxing, for scanning out to the buildings. It's more than just a copy machine.
We need a $4,000 copier at the bus.
That's over the period of the whole lease. It's not just for 1 year, and it's not just a one-time. It's for the period of the lease. So copy machines, I mean, if you would like us to look into something different, we can do that. Copy machines are not inexpensive.
If it's just a want and not a need.
Oh, by no means is it a want. It is, I mean, they use it for scanning so that we can scan to the buildings.
I can do all these
every
things
day
from my home office on a $80 machine. I copy every day. I mean, it just seems like a lot of
Okay. Can I ask? They are in office just like the administration building and school offices. Do you believe that they do not need the same equipment as those offices? Then would you like me to investigate something different?
Sure.
Well, I think we have a motion and a second. So we need to. Is there any questions or other comments?
Yeah, I just had a question. I did, is this, I'm assuming we lease it so we're not sort of paying the full amount.
Well, and their hours at the end, so you lease them so you're not paying that upfront cost to replace, and then you keep them over the period of time, and then their hours at the end.
Okay,
And if
that's
they
kind of
still
what I
work, we keep them. If they don't, we auction them at the end of the period. So they will become hours at the end, but it is a more price effective way to get them.
Right. Okay.
This is typical, and it is considered basically debt. But I did I did contact bond counsel Jane Herndon today, and based on the minimal amount of this, $100, less than $100 a month payment over a 50-month period, she considered it de minimis and does not require that we post this on Emma as part of it. It's a new occurrence of debt. It's not material.
I guess I would also like to know what the rest of the board thinks in regards to having Karen spend her time on researching other options versus trusting that this is the best option and therefore that's why it's being recommended. So what does the rest of the board feel? I mean, I don't want to send you on a rabbit chase when 1 out of 7 is saying
I appreciate that.
So
Well, I
guess
think there's a motion on the table. I think Karen can do whatever Dr. Wright wishes she should do.
Well,
She asked if I thought she should do that. Yes, I do.
I think
well,
it's
during
fast
the
to hear
dialogue
if other people feel that way.
portion of the conversation, I would just like to know what the other board members think.
Well, I think with the motion on the floor in a second, the vote will tell.
Can I say one thing? The one thing to remember in working in school systems where copy machines, not necessarily here, ours work pretty well, but in other districts where they don't, that at least includes the maintenance visits and the toner for those machines. So that's built into the price as well. That's just something to think about. In my previous district, I felt like the copy repairman worked for us. He was there every day. The little steel cart. It was bad.
Well, there's no way better to make your employees irritated is when they need copies and they're not getting them.
I'm dealing with that
Speaking as a teacher.
I'm dealing with that every day right now, to the tune of the probability of having to replace something at the tune of 15,000. So, and this is the same company that we have for all the others.
Exactly. It's the same, and it's not one of the big robust ones like a building has. It's what is in like Warner. So we have a copy machine that is much smaller and more utilitarian than what an office in the school building has. We don't need all of the bells and whistles. So this is more in line. Actually, it's just like what we have at Warner. It is, like Ron said, it's very price effective when we look at the cost to repair. Even a service call is a minimum of usually at $100 or more. And so these contracts we have had in place for quite a long time. It has served us well financially as well as from the service perspective. I know that the last round of copiers, our copy guy, we were in the business office, we knew him by name. He knew us all. He'd come for pitch-ins if he was here because they're here so much, making sure that we're operable every day. So I will say that is a very huge point that Mr. Baker pointed out, that schools need them. And it's not the same as us being able to just call every time we need a service.
Thank you, Mrs. Scott.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
Vote passes 6-1.
President Button, trustees, I'm now going to ask Chief of Secondary Education, Mr. Mark Fowler, to present action items 6.05 and 6.06.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Wright. Trustees, thank you. So what you have before you is the Summer of Learning Conference. So this is the conference we put on every year. For the blended learning, I believe we have about 171 signed up within RCS, paraprofessionals, teachers. And then we also have people from outside of the district who come to this. This is all grant funded. So this is all part of our digital grants that we receive through the e-learning team. And what you have is the list of speakers who have been invited to speak at this conference and host sessions. 3 of them are keynote speakers. They receive $1,000. Everybody else gets $100 per session. And they are all W-9. They will all bill us after the conference, and it's paid for through a grant.
Move that we accept these contracts.
Second.
I have a member, or I have a motion by member Stoltz and a second by Zaleski. Questions or comments?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Fowler. I will support you 100%.
Thank you.
I had to give him one. He was so disappointed.
It's true. Last time I didn't get any from
Trustee
Pepper, but here's my one.
Very
I'll take it.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0.
Mr. Fowler.
All right, so item 6.06 is the athletic camp brochure. And so what we are asking is that you approve the athletic camp brochure as presented. There's already one adjustment that we will make. That there is a camp director that will not be on there. So Ms. Wolpe and I will work on that. But what we're asking is that you accept the camp brochure as presented so that we can get this out. We can get kids signed up and give them some productive things to do over the summer.
I move to approve 6.06, the 2024 athletic camp brochure.
I'll
As
second.
presented.
And a motion by member Stoltz, a second by member Stevens, and a motion by second by member Stoltz. Questions or comments?
I did have a question.
Yeah.
So I noticed that some of the camps are free, and then some of them have a fee. So how does that work? Like, why are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm asking Miss Wolpe. So Miss Wolpe, could you help join the conversation? Why are some of the camps? Why is there a charge and some is free?
It's a coach decision. They try to keep the price low. Some coaches do it free because a lot of those coaches get sponsorships to help offset the cost of running the camp. If they give T-shirts or something like that. So basically, it is the coach's decision to
shift will
charge
capital
and to keep
space.
the price low. You can't find camps anywhere for $25.
I was very impressed with the.
Right.
I was very impressed with the 15, 25.
Glad that they
Yeah.
keep that price reasonable,
Yeah.
and every single coach will waive the fees if a student cannot pay. That is part of what we do.
Okay. Thank you.
I guess I'd like to see us cap them at $25. I know that's way, but for a kid to have to ask, $50, that's a number that now is kind of, 25 you can scrape together from some friends or family. And not all kids are going to ask to come to ask for a freebie. I mean, I think I'd like to see the board say we want camps capped at $25 because it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't make sense to have 3 camps, or the basketball camps at 50, the volleyball camp at 30, and then all the rest are 25 or free.
I think some are, there's one that's like one day.
Yeah,
football.
I mean, the times vary a little bit.
I like giving the coaches the right to make that decision. I think they're all very reasonable in my opinion. And whoever it is not me then getting to decide if they want to get sponsorships or ask for that. And I love that there's an opportunity for any student who doesn't have the means, their family, that they can contact. And it's a very reasonably priced camps, in my opinion.
I don't know, having run camps and collecting that $25 from soccer players. I mean, $25 is a lot of money for a kid that doesn't have family support. And to jump it to $50, whereas these camps are open to all kids, whether they're varsity players, or JV players, or any players. I think a coach has to be super in tune to offer that assistance very quickly and very discreetly. Otherwise, I think the $50 is I think there's no need for us to be charging $50 for RCS camps. 25 seems more than reasonable. That's just my opinion.
So theoretically, if we did go that route, where would the funds come from then to pay for that?
I don't think there's any cost to us.
Well, and I think to Member Weber's point, I think maybe we could investigate what is the actual upfront cost to put on a camp. Because I think that would depend, right? Whether we're going to offer a T-shirt, or maybe some camps have some, I don't want to say consumable items, but maybe they do, right? Where there's an upfront cost. And then maybe what we can talk about, is there a way that we can partner with you so that if it's the will of the board to establish a flat rate across the board, that we could talk to those coaches ahead of time to say, hey, we know maybe we've imposed this, so how can we help you to pay for those on the front end, so kids could all have a chance to participate in that.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've seen in the past is there's opportunities, there's like emails where you can send like a no reply email saying, hey, I'd like for my kid to be able to participate. We can't afford it. They're never going to ask you that. So we could collect some data like that too, so that we can be proactive and reach out.
I was just going to comment. I was reading these off to my kids before the meeting. Sorry. It's hard when I picked them up today, but they're very excited. I can see, to your point, a few of my kiddos are younger. They're super excited about football camp. It's free because they're going to be their first time in football. So I think there's a differential of, I want them to go to basketball camp. I have 4 kiddos. I'm not going to send all 4 with that price point, especially the younger ones. But, maybe in the future too, if you've got sort of that, hey, intro camp for parents to get their kids. Because, whoever's a parent, like, I'm going to sign my kid up and pay $1 million for XYZ, and then they're going to sit on the sidelines because they hate it. So I like this as like a
Christmas and May.
Right. They don't have to worry about playing a whole season, but just some variation maybe in our camps. I mean, that's a lot for the coaches. It's like,
yeah, we can work on that. Like we can get with the coaches and see, are there ways that we can help you to maybe across the board do that, and then maybe some communication ways for parents who, to Member Weber's point, could get on the camp brochure and email to a no reply that says, hey, if there's a way you could reach out to my son or daughter, they'd love to go, but we can't afford it.
Right, because there are parents that they want their kids more involved. Yeah. They're at that higher level, so they're going to pay.
Aaron, what is interesting, Mr. Fowler? First, let me say I really appreciate the word "we" rolling off your tongue. It's
Thank you.
Late.
Thank you. I have some else.
Nevertheless, what is the possibility of exploring with some of our community partners in the future sponsorships, so that maybe the word discreet came up a while ago, if a coach can find out discreetly that a family may not be able to afford that, and we're not talking about hundreds of $1,000s a year, but still, $25 or $50. I'm sure we can come up with enough community support and with our partners to develop sponsorships.
In addition to students point of reference about what has been referenced earlier. There are programs in sports there at RHS that during the off season they provided free experiences for the feeders, whether it be Saturday mornings or weekday type events. I know some of our coaches have offered those options for our youngsters during the school year.
Where the boys and girls are combined for basketball, soccer, are they splitting the revenue on those camps to the different programs? So the girls program and the boys? Do we know that?
My understanding was that it was total and then they would split it between the two programs.
So they split it. And just one little typo under boys and girls soccer, it's any boys.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Member Celestia. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Brad. The so all the fees go to the athletic department that programs, like when you collect $250 for soccer or whatever that.
Yeah.
Yeah, collecting money for camps is a interesting.
It's not easy either.
Yeah. Several years. But I appreciate the effort, and I'm glad we're off the camps. I know kids have done them when they're itty bitty, and good experiences often.
Yes.
Just wish that $3 was there.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0.
President Brother, trustees, I'm going to ask Mrs. Margaret to join us for action item 6.07. Mrs. Margaret.
Good evening. I have two agreements for your approval for the 24-25 school year. The first is for mobility specialist with this is Becky Smallwood. Her services are used to provide orientation and mobility service for our blind and low vision students to RCS as they are assigned to us. And also recommending services for occupational therapist registered with Mrs. Leanne Bachmeyer. Her services are used to supervise our occupational therapy assistants, develop our individual education plans, and evaluate students for OT services. So I recommend that you approve these agreements as presented.
I move that we approve both of these agreements.
Second.
A motion by member Stoltz, a second by Zaleski. Questions and comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0.
President Brother, trustees, I now ask that Mr. Stacy Mops join us for action items 6.08 and 6.09. Mr. Mops.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Thank you, board. This is non-certified salary schedule and benefit package revisions for the 2024-2025 school year. It's the recommendation of the superintendent and interim chief human resource officer that the board of school trustees approve the non-certified salary schedule and benefit package for the 2024-2025 school year as presented.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by member Zaleski, a second by member Stoltz. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0.
Mops.
Thank you. Once again, Dr. Wright and board. This is 6.09, personnel hiring and background checks. Pursuant to IC 2026-5-11.2, presented for your approval is the personnel hiring and background report. The background check report for employment and offenses would not exclude the employees from employment pursuant to IC 2026-5-11.2 for a new employee 48599.
Move that we approve action item 6.09.
Second.
Motion by member Stoltz, a second by member Zaleski. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0.
President Brother, trustees, I'm going to ask Mrs. Karen Scout to join us for action items 6.10 through 6.12. Mrs. Scout.
Good evening again. Tonight before you is a request to advertise for an auction of obsolete items. We would like to hold a public auction for obsolete equipment on Wednesday, June 12th at 5 p.m. The location of the sale will be at the Richmond Community Schools bus garage on Salisbury Road, and Walther Hawkins Auctioneers will be handling the sale. Advertisements will be in the Palladium item, and they do it also on their website. So before you tonight, it is our recommendation that we request to advertise and hold a public sale of obsolete equipment.
I move that we approve the request for the auction of obsoleted items.
Second.
A motion by member Stoltz, a second by member Stevens. Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0.
Okay, under 6.1, we have the bid award for the Fairview Structural Repairs Project. The opening of the bids for this project occurred on May 14th, 2024 at the Administration Building. Two bidders were present, Thor Construction Inc. and VCR Inc., doing business as Wiesenhunt Construction Inc. It is recommended that the bid received from VCR Inc. doing business as Wiesenhunt Construction Inc. be awarded as the lowest responsible bidder. The work will occur during the summer of 2024. We are hopeful at this time that the work will be completed prior to the start of the school year. However, we are going to put contingency plans in. We have already talked to the building principal, and she is working with her team to have a plan if we do need to displace those teachers temporarily. And that is strictly because supply chain is sometimes difficult on some of the items needed. And if the weather is poor, it is a weather dependent project. So the funding for this work is planned to be in the 2024 bond. So before you tonight, it is our recommendation that we award the Fairview Structural Repairs to Wiesenhunt Construction Inc.
I move to approve 6.11, the bid award for Fairview Structural.
Second.
A motion by member Stevens, a second by member Stoltz. Questions and comments?
My apologies to you. I keep getting messages from work, and so I didn't mean to interrupt your presentation.
Same thing. You're fine.
I beg your pardon.
And so I have a quick question. So that's everything under that Fairview Tower restoration.
It's not under the tower, so it's just a portion.
Oh,
This
okay.
is so there's some structural repairs that have to be made on the exterior walls on each side of the building. The building was added on to periodically, and so before the what we call the kindergarten edition, those walls need to have some work done on them. On the it's going to shore up the whole thing. It's not the rough part of the facade on the brick, and the foundation actually has to be worked on just a little bit just to shore that up so that it doesn't impact the roof. Okay. So the tower work is separate of that, and they are working on that now to know whether it needs to be bid or not. So
okay, so the tower's separate. And this
it is separate, but it's a part of the total. So it's Fairview
kind of
total
just
was, yes.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0.
Okay, the final action item before you tonight is an agreement with Tyler Technologies. This agreement is to provide routing and a comprehensive transportation package for student transport. We have determined that it is in the best interest of the corporation to part ways with Orbit Software, otherwise known as BusBoss, following this school year. We'll transition to Tyler Technologies as soon as this agreement is approved, if it is approved. It does have a robust full service spectrum of a platform. So not only does it provide routing, it provides on the bus GPS tracking. It has student tracking applications for parents and drivers, as well as the office. They are tested and tried. There are 200,000 buses in our nation on the road with this service provider and using those applications on a daily basis. It does coordinate with Google Maps and makes on-time, real-time transitions. So let's say that a street gets closed in an afternoon, a bus driver is going to get rerouted automatically. What that means is we're going to have to spend a lot of the summer working through GPS, making sure that everything gets entered correctly. They will be on site for a lot of that, making sure that things happen and get going. We do have a timeline to implement. The initial work will happen over the summer. We will continue to route and utilize both systems stepping into the fall and fully transition through that. The one note is with the challenges that we saw with the student tracking platform that we currently, I will say have, but I would say that it's not, I've been extremely and like profoundly disappointed. That we want to make sure is absolutely working and correct. So there are pieces to that application that we'll be able to roll out in segments to parents with full implementation later in the year. However, it is already tested. They know it works. I did some field recommendation requests. So I have a peer group of about 25 to 30 operations and business managers throughout the state of Indiana. And I just put the all call out there and asked them, does anyone use, Tyler Technologies? Or if you don't, who do you use? Would you recommend them? What have you found? And 3/4 of that group use them, love them, and they're transitioning. So they had an old platform. They're transitioning to this new web-based platform over the summer. So that tells me a lot that they're choosing them again and that they are very happy with them. And so that speaks volumes that they're tested in Indiana. That's a big thing for me because Indiana doesn't always follow the same rules as every other state. So we want to make sure it works for us and that everything is solid. So personally, I'm looking forward to that for us as a district to have a better platform with more options and just so much that it can do. I do have a very short 3-minute video if you're interested in watching it, ready to go on the program and what it looks like. So if you guys are good with that, we'll roll, and then the recommendation would be that we approve it.
Increase efficiency and provide oversight of your operation. One solution does all this. Tyler Drive. It's one-of-a-kind software loaded onto a unique semi-rugged tablet, which is mounted on a school bus near the driver. Fully integrated with Tyler student transportation software, Tyler Drive provides turn-by-turn directions to each scheduled stop, manages student ridership, records pre- and post-trip vehicle inspections, and electronically logs employee hours. First, your transportation team develops routes for your district using your Tyler student transportation solution. Designating the safest, most efficient way for your students to be picked up and dropped off each day. When a driver logs into a Tyler Drive unit, their assigned run is uploaded using the exact route and stops you build. Tyler Drive provides the driver with route-specific directions to each stop, following district policy and safety guidelines. It can provide visual directions or audio only, with the screen blacked out while the bus is in motion. These electronic directions are significantly safer for drivers and riders compared to paper route sheets, as they allow the driver to keep both hands on the wheel and both eyes on the road. They also make it faster and easier to onboard new drivers or teach sub-drivers a new route. At each stop, Tyler Drive shows the names and photos of students who are assigned to board or leave the bus at this location. As students enter or leave the vehicle, they scan a radio frequency identification card, or RFID, over the Tyler Drive card reader. This creates a record of when and where the student scanned. The driver is also alerted to students attempting to board the wrong bus or exit at unassigned locations. As each student scans their card, their parent or guardian receives an alert on a secure integrated mobile app. Tyler Drive has an internal GPS, allowing you to manage vehicle location in real time, or track and trace the vehicle location, speed, and heading of the vehicle at earlier points in time. Before and after each route, the drivers can undock Tyler Drive and take it with them as they perform the pre- and post-trip vehicle inspections. Tyler Drive provides a customizable checklist and can require a signature from the bus driver to help ensure a thorough inspection. Tyler Drive also manages employee timekeeping. Staff, including drivers, aides, and mechanics, may clock in or out on the tablet so that they don't have to go to the depot to punch in. With Tyler Drive, you can enhance the safety of your students, improve communication, increase efficiency, and provide oversight over your district transportation. Tyler Technologies. To learn more, visit the web, tylertech.com/TylerDrive.
So that's just a very quick synopsis of what we've been vetting. We started this process back in February when I was, probably to say not happy with the response we were getting. Is to say it very mildly. One thing I want to note is I have Mrs. Amon, our transportation director with Student Transit, here with us tonight. I have Mr. Hazelbaker here as well to offer suggestions to questions that you may have that are more technical on their end of things. But I can't say thank you enough to them. They have vetted and vetted and vetted. So we have vetted a ton of software platforms, 3 seriously, and this was the end result. And so they've spent a tremendous amount of time on this, and it really does come with really great recommendations, and they are well versed at this. So tonight it's my recommendation that we approve the agreement with Tyler Technologies for student transportation software.
Move that we accept this agreement with Tyler Technologies.
Second.
And a motion by member Stoltz, a second by member Stevens. Questions or comments?
Comment. Thank you. That was very informative. Does anyone else feel like they were watching like an Uber type thing? I mean, it kind of seemed like our kids are going to be having like Uber drivers with the GPS and the pictures and
Which I'm saying wasn't a bus go around.
okay, so yeah, but anyway, no, I'm just kind of intrigued by it. So
I have a question. Has anyone actually used the app, the My Ride K-12?
In RCS, no. However, it's on 200,000 buses right now.
I mean, it's not well received. It's like a 2.5 star out of 5.
Okay.
And their previous app was even worse
Sasha,
received.
did you use the app at your previous district? Have you used the student app before?
Yes. So before I came, sorry, maybe I should move up.
Sorry, come on, you're fine. Come to the podium if you like. It won't bite.
So before I came to Richmond, I worked in Xenia, Ohio. We were a pilot location for this technology, specifically the tablets. So we did test that in our region and did that 2021, 2020, 2021, and had great responses. We rarely had any issues with the GPS, with the connectivity, was wonderful. Tyler Tech, I will also say, are so responsive for any issues, questions, comments. Their support level is something I've never experienced. So,
And yeah, I appreciate that. I think I'm more concerned about the parent
Yes.
experience and,
Yes.
and if the app's poorly rated, that makes me think even though our buses might have great equipment and might work great for our side, I want to make sure the parent side works just as well, if not better. And I just would, I think in vetting, it'd be nice if technology could check the app out and have at least a thought on it.
It is definitely something we can take a look more deeper into. I know that I've spoken with the transportation director and technology director, like Mrs. Mike, as they are with Tyler Technology, their district currently right now. So we can get together a little more deeper on that, because we won't have access necessarily to app ourselves to take a look.
I mean, I don't know if they can set up a pilot kind of where you can try to. I don't understand how that works, and I don't want to hold anything up. I hope we don't want to do this again, kind of thing.
no.
We don't either.
No, we did not. Absolutely.
That's all.
Okay. I have a couple of things. Okay, so first I just want to say I'm super glad it's SaaS product, right? It's close to my heart. I think we'll just get so much more out of it, like knowing the struggles of what we had before. Looking through their agreement, this doesn't mean, probably won't mean anything, but the fact that they had individualized racing charts for like each little section is huge, and I didn't expect to see anything like that, but I think it's just really good. And just so you guys, racing obviously is who's responsible, who's accountable, consulted, informed, and they break it down. So I think that's
Very thorough.
just coming from a vendor in, they've thought through that, so that is promising.
Which is accountability too, right?
It does.
And that's
right.
something that we struggled with.
Yeah.
Current first. Yeah.
Yes.
Go with kids. Right?
No, it's okay. If this was in here, I'm sorry if I missed it. So is there, obviously I'm assuming we'll get new badges for kids.
So we're actually working with them to work with the current badges that we use.
Okay.
So there are some ways that we can coordinate that platform to read the code, the barcodes. We're working on that now. Students will get a new barcode at the start of the school year each year anyway.
Okay.
So we can make that work in whichever format that it needs to be, but we are working to try to get the barcodes just so that we don't have to reinvent our wheel since it's already part of our Power School platform.
Perfect. Was there, I didn't read it, could be in there, does it send a manual loading alert? Like if kids aren't swiping, do they have to punch in their number? Does the bus driver have to, like,
Yeah, if they don't pop up automatically, goal is for them to pop up because we have better routing software on the front end. So when we go to the card reading, that should look better than it has. But it will absolutely pop up as kind of a check mark, and then either we note it and log them in ourselves. Well, that's really the option. It's for us to do that for them.
Okay. And can the bus drivers send notifications?
Yes. So that's actually the first thing we can do, even before the card readers are in it. The GPS has to be set up first. So you have to get all of your routes set. You have to run your routes at the beginning of the school year for a while, make sure everything is set before they will open the card reading feature. Well, they'll open it, but I don't want another year like what we had this year. So I'm just gonna roll with this the most careful and best way possible. So, but the messaging part is available as soon as we have routes set and are running. Okay. So our goal is to have this transition happening and we get routes going September, October, we're running really well. And then we'll start rolling out pieces of that parent app. The messaging part can be opened immediately at that point. That's the first step that I feel like is really nice because your bus driver and the bus garage can send instant messages to parents through that application. And that has been the thing we actually wanted to get to on this other app first. And it was not in place. They told us it was, they promised it was, it definitely wasn't. So that actually was when I talked to the person today again that we've been talking with, he was like, this is where you should start so that your parents can start the process and learn it first. And I do think that is very valuable. It is something that and he is just their customer service representative. So he's not the beginning user of their techie people. Sorry, Alex. No, but that's reality. Sometimes you get bogged in the programming part. He knew how best to roll that out. He was very, very thorough in his conversation with me. He knew where we would have hiccups when we have them if we choose not to go in certain ways, and he explored every option with me. And I appreciate that. So we've got a plan, and we're going to have a contingency plan if that doesn't work, but the messaging will happen much faster than the onboarding with the swipes. So, yeah.
No, I could definitely, I got a sense of just what they provided in their communication.
Yes.
Just,
Totally
obviously
different.
didn't see the other agreement, but you
It's
just know when they
totally
add little
different.
things
Yeah.
and it goes a long way. So
right.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I just have a question. If this is going to do the routing, it's going to do the communication side. You keep saying we've hired. What is Sottrell doing now? Because
So you have to have a routing software. You can't do that by hand unless you sit down with maps and ledger books. So we've had software for even before Sodrel. We've had routing software.
right, but this is supposed to help.
Well, yes. But you have to have bus drivers and you have to have dispatchers and you have to have the people to enter the data for the routes to make sure that it feeds right. So we have a PowerSchool input that puts in the student names, but you still have to make sure that those drivers can drive the streets that way. So you have to oversee the routes, and they provide all of those services. So they provide all personnel services for the office staff, the drivers. They provide all the mechanics. They service all of our buses. So I guess my question is, what would change from what they're doing right now? Because they do that all now
It
with
just
the
seems like
software.
we're providing more and more of their.
This is ours. So the software is ours. We have owned it. When we had Edgelog, we owned it. When we went to BusBoss, this is our platform. And so we determine what we use as a district on our buses. We own our buses and we own the software that runs those routes. So this is no different than any of those other platforms that we have always maintained as a district.
It just
So
feels like we're providing more of the services that they should be doing.
Again, what you're referencing, and what I hear Mr. Scout saying is that this has been around for some time, but what I hear Mr. Lesky referencing is that it seems as if we're providing more for them to, I hear me be doing less, but what I hear Mr. Scout saying is that this has been something that even prior to Cyril.
yes, this is
an internal
absolutely.
CS side.
You have to have a routing software because you don't have enough hours in the day to make hand changes every day for every student in the district. It's nearly impossible without a staff of a gazillion people. We make a lot of changes on a daily basis just because of the transiency of our district. However, we do that through software so that it can push out so that we can get that information and get it back into PowerSchool so our buildings can use it as well. What I will say is that our platform for BusBoss is very old. What I would consider old in technology standards. We switched from Edgelog when Suzanne Dirigowski began at the bus garage. We were looking to transition that platform at that time because they were doing an update. So we either had to transition to the update or transition to something else. It's really no different than Mosaic in our cafeteria system to take track of our student counts and our student meals. It's no different than our HR and finance platform. You have to have those things in working order in order for all of the operational pieces to work correctly in your daily life of just making things happen. So I think that I understand and you feel like we're giving this to them, but this is what we have to have in order to operate. We would have to have this, whether it was student transit or us. Like it's a logistical have to have. It's not that we're giving anybody anything. What we have is not working properly. And the response that we had on a software platform to roll out new was so poor that personally, I don't want to work with them anymore. They have been, and I hate to say that in such a public setting, but it has been so disappointing and so unfortunate that I have zero desire to keep them in our system any longer than we have to because we are getting no service. We are getting no training. We are getting no thorough help. And at the end of the day, they'll still say it's a user error. Just even yesterday, this is a user error when it is clearly a programming problem.
Well, and that's why it is that we're
absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
So basically, like just hearing what you're saying, maybe we need a RACI chart because I actually had just asked Dr. Wright this yesterday. Just being newer to the board, like where's the dividing line that we do in Sodrel? So, and maybe that's just we sort of go through, or if you guys have
the contract. So the contract is actually in board docs. It's on the November 9th, 2022 board meeting, and you can look at it there. It is very detailed down to which tools stay at the garage if anything happened, and which go. I mean, it's extremely detailed. So I can provide a brief synopsis that just kind of covers the big stuff, but it's all there, and if you would like to look at it.
And so is there, I mean, basically what Pete is saying, is there anything Tyler Technologies is providing us that Sodrel is currently providing for us?
as their own unit. No, we own
Two separate.
the software that we currently have.
Okay,
We
good.
will own this software. It's a 1-for-1. It's
Okay.
RCS's software now. It will be RCS's software then.
Perfect.
We are just asking them to utilize it
Okay,
as our operation system.
great.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. We are up to the policy review update. And I don't know if we need a motion or.
I move.
Yeah, thank you.
I move that we advance policy 7.01, 7.02, 7.03, and 7.04 to second reading.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by member Stevens and a second by member Stoltz. Questions or comments?
I guess if we're gonna group them together, I have some comments. The first policy, administrative authority, I guess first, I don't know why we need it. And second, use the director, where I believe, I don't know, maybe Stacy can comment. It seems like our previous policy would have said the superintendent. I don't know if that's a Neola thing or we don't really have, well, we have had two directors, I guess.
Is that helpful if I just give you some notes?
Yeah.
On those. Okay. So that first one, we did talk about it goes away.
Yeah.
I think it was, is that 132 too? Yes. Sorry. I'll make sure I'm on the right one. Stacey, was that the one we questioned about? Do we need this one?
No, there was another one that we had a question about.
Sorry,
No, that's right. It was 123.
123.
But for that one, they use director kind of interchangeable with superintendent. We can change that. That's an easy
Yeah.
modification to make.
I mean, that would fit with what we do, although I don't think it says anything, and I don't know why we need it. But if we're going to have it, I'd rather say, because I presume the director means superintendent in this particular policy.
I can make that change for the second reading.
I like the idea of having consistency.
Yeah. And the other one on that policy is option 4. We talked about checking it, but to bring it today to get consensus if option 4 needed to stand.
And we did also add option 1 too. That was that was not on there before that you guys requested that.
I mean, those two things. I mean, yeah, if that change satisfies me, and I would leave it as written. That would be good. And then the next one, sorry, the orientation one.
I'm wondering just to keep this clean, if maybe since we have the motion and we need to vote on each one.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Yeah, I think that may help it clear, make it
Okay.
clear, because I think you have good questions, John, so. Would you
I'll
retract?
I'll retract my second as well. Yes.
Okay, great. So
Well,
let's,
okay, so if we're still just doing it, or so we're just on 132.2.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So if we're just doing that, John, I love it. The can of worms is open. What were your thoughts as far as whether it's needed or not in general? Because you kind of
So that one was on, sorry, I got that one confused. That was on a different one that's not on here. So it's another policy review.
Okay.
So
John, what were your thoughts on whether it's you just feel like it's kind of
It doesn't say anything. It's not required by law. I don't know exactly. There's some legal note, but it doesn't quite. It's not an Indiana code. I don't believe. So, I mean, my preference would be taken out. But if we want to keep it, I would change it from director to superintendent.
So we're thinking we just keep it though, change it. I mean, just like how it works.
I mean, that's like,
Yes. All right. All right. Well, Aaron,
So I
did you
would move that we advance. I've got a 7.0. To get back to my main. I move that we advance 7.01 policy 01.0132.2 to second reading with the change from director to superintendent throughout the policy.
And I'll second that. Great. I have a motion by member Stevens and a second by member Stoltz. Any other questions or comments on that policy? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. policy 142.5.
So policy 142.5, just to give you all the notes on that one.
You want to make a living?
Oh, I have to make a motion here. Right. Okay. Motion.
Comments.
Okay,
Then
someone
we
make
may
a
have
motion.
to try to make changes, right?
Let me know when I can talk. I don't.
Here, Kim, I can do it. All right.
Thank you.
So I moved that we move policy 0142.5 to second reading.
Second.
Motion by member Stoltz, second by member Stevens. Questions or comments?
Okay, 142.5. I think everything on that was pretty standard. We did sort of go through other materials to kind of add in some extra things that should probably be included into the board member orientation, which was it's to be automatically registered to be board members for the academy. Like, no questions asked. You don't have to think twice about it. Provide links to each negotiated agreement, the personnel report, which I think we get in October, but whenever a new board member is brought on, that should be just kind of standardized in there. And I think those were the basic things. We said no on A, which was a copy of the interlocal agreement. I don't think we had anything. So if you guys had any other thoughts on kind of the standard orientation package.
I have some thoughts. A, and I can't speak for past presidents, but I don't think we don't do this generally. And B, the policy doesn't say who does it; it just says the board. So I think the policy, if we're going to actually do these things, like discreetly or directly, I think it needs to say that the secretary or the president or whoever or the administrative assistant to the superintendent will provide these things. I think it needs to have that ownership piece, and then they need to be provided because it just says the board, which is totally nebulous. And then in past practice, I mean, yes, you know where the policies are, but we've never given copies to people of any of the stuff that I'm aware of. And so I think we either have to decide if we're going to do it, then we need to say who's going to do it and have them do it.
We've gotten away from the practice of doing that, obviously, because when I first got on the board, Moses handed me mine, so.
Only 33 back then.
Seriously. What'd you say? He goes, did he say Moses? I said he did say Moses. He did.
I'm tracking on that. Okay, here we go.
I'll tell you afterwards.
Yeah, I think I've read about it.
Nevertheless, no, we used to do that. We used to do that in the good old days because there was a specific in-house orientation and these things by the superintendent and the board executive committee would sit with the new members and provide them and have a few hours of session to go over this. So this is before we did the link. This is when everything was done in a binder like this. So
We do have a document that I met with Austin for a couple hours.
Yeah.
That has a protocol for things that I shared with them, things that we kind of went through.
And I both met with
Yes.
Brand a few hours.
45 minutes. I mean, he can probably attest to my poor orientation. But I think it'd be nice to have a more formalized.
Sorry.
And I think that was the purpose of this, and I think that's one thing we did change because it is so cumbersome to have those paper copies that we would give them the link and access to the link,
And the links,
which would be the
who's the we?
Well, that's up to you, but I think giving them access to the administrative side, the authentication side of board docs helps out with that too, and that would be Ms. Elsmeyer, that she provided that to me when I was on the board. But if you want to add, if you want to specify who it is, we can add that in there for the second reading.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer to say the president or their designee maybe solves that problem.
Yeah.
And Kristen can say, Nicole, you handle it, or Kristen, or whatever.
I think
I mean, it
like
shouldn't.
that idea.
I don't think it should necessarily have to all weigh on the president's shoulders.
Yeah, I thought it worked out okay.
But I think rather than being the board, I mean, that's. Oh, I thought you were going to do. I mean, it's nebulous. Thank you.
Yeah. I can make that revision for the next board meeting.
And then C, it references the director, which to John's point on the last one, should therefore be
Gotcha.
superintendent.
I don't even know whether we refer to administrative guidance, superintendent administrative guidance. I don't know if I've never seen it listed that way. They're just the AGs. At the SH. I don't know. But either way.
Okay, well, I have a motion and a second. That sounds like it needs to be retracted. Oh, retracted.
Actually, I like that. I'm gonna amend it.
Good, that's even better.
I'm gonna amend to include the discussed changes.
Sorry, Stacey.
Which you Stacy has second.
Yes, I said.
I've got the changes.
Yeah, okay, great.
We're good.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? The amendment. Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Next policy is Beaver 164.
Oh, I'll move that we move policy 0164 to second reading.
Second.
And a motion by Member Stoll, a second by Member Stevens. Questions and comments? Can we have any insight on that?
Nope, I think this one was pretty standard. I don't think there were any options.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nays. Vote passes 7-0. Policy 0165.
I move that we move policy 0165 to second reading.
Second.
Motion by Member Stoll, a second by Member Stevens. Questions or comments?
I do have one, and actually, just one clarification of their 64. There were several policies combined into one. Like, so some were decommissioned. I'm not, it's gonna get real confusing if I want to.
You want me to?
Rick, do you want to?
Yeah. Do you want me to go? So what they've done, and actually we don't have it here, but and Attorney Cross, you can help us out. So what they did is they
This is Neola. I'm not.
They took several policies and moved them into one. In other words, for stating meeting times, they took all of there used to be one for emergency, one for regular meeting, and so special meeting. They've taken all those and put them in one policy. And so with that, then we really need to resend the ones that would be duplicated then. And we don't have that on here, but we can make sure that's on the next one, that we resend those policies. And so 0165 is, let me look for it. 0164 is notice of meetings, and so that is all the different types of meetings, and 0165 are just what meetings are. So what the meetings are. So
Such as, like you said, regular special meetings.
Right. What it does is it cleans a lot of that language up and puts it in one spot for people to see.
Locational meetings, member participation, meetings, the electronic meetings, communication. Yeah. So and so on.
So then, yes, the 0165, it defines the same thing.
Yes.
Just the numbers of what it took and combined, it took 165 and put it to 164, and it took 164 for the.
Is this a Neola change?
It is. And that
I would only make sure when they give you that you ask them if they cross check other policies so that renumbering will not be inconsistent. They should be doing that.
And I can ask them about that, and they listed all of them, and I don't know why they switched those numbers, but I can check on that. Attorney Cross.
That'd be the only risk I see there.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Vote passes 7-0. Preview of upcoming meetings and events. Dr. Wright?
Yes, ma'am. Madam President, trustees, our next school board business meeting will be Wednesday, 19th, 6:30 p.m. Preluding the meeting will be a work session that will begin at 5:30 p.m. And just for the millions that are watching and those that are in attendance, we are reformatting our approach to our business meetings as well as even the work sessions that we've provided in the past. So we will be returning as we move forward. Starting in the month of June, we'll be returning to 2 regularly scheduled business meetings. Prior to each business meeting, we'll have a work session that will allow us to continue to learn, be informed, educate, and engage with one another as well as patrons throughout our communities. As for an adjournment and bell ringer, as Mrs. Hazel Baker, our communications coordinator. Oh, I'm sorry, Attorney Cross. Yes,
yeah, I just wanted to give you a heads up because you may hear it at your workshops. Public Law 171 goes into effect July 1. It was House and Old Act 1338. It's interesting. It's kind of a legislative slap on the hands to the PAC, to the Public Access Council. It basically says that his advisory opinions must be based upon the literal reading of the law and final court decisions that have interpreted it. And then it goes on to say that committees appointed by the governing body are not to be considered as public agencies, but you can only have one member of the board on that committee, and the sole purpose has to be to receive information, deliberate, and then make recommendations to the governing body. So I would say that doesn't really change anything, but the provision that the PAC has to limit its advisory opinions to the express language in the statute. And you recall the language in the statute specifically says that if the committee is not appointed by the governing body, then it's not considered a public agency. So if you continue to allow your committees to be appointed by the superintendent, you're out from under it. And I think that gives you a little more leeway with your working groups, as long as you structure them in that manner, because that's a clear reading of the statute, in my opinion.
Thank you, Attorney Cross. Thank you, sir. As Mrs. Hazelbaker is making her way to the podium for our bell ringer, welcome her back.
Well, we had a lot happen, especially with sports. Our intermediate school track teams wrapped up a very successful season on Saturday at the state finals in the United States in Terre Haute. We have a list of students, and I'll share that with Mrs. Ellsmeyer so we can put that in our briefs. And then I also wanted to congratulate senior Ethan Miller and Allison Stout. They were recently named academic All-State. Last Tuesday and Thursday were phenomenal nights for the Richmond Red Devil track team. The girls placed third, and the boys won their first sectional in 14 years, decisively by 65 points. A 27-year-old meet record was broken when freshman Trevin Crosby won the 400-meter dash in a time of 15.43 seconds. A full 3/4 of the boys and girls team who competed at sectionals have moved on to regionals. Last night, the girls competed in Shelbyville, and then tomorrow night, the boys compete in Brickville.
Thank you, Mrs. Hazelbaker. Prior to adjournment, and of course, we'll have the opportunity in June because, as it's been referenced, chiefs of education, Baker and Fowler, will be with us in June, so you all can really extend our appreciation. But, gentlemen, I appreciate what it is that you all referenced. And again, Mr. Baker, congratulations, sir, moving into your first superintendency is going to be a joyous experience.
I might be back soon.
Well, what I'll say is that with regard to Mr. Fowler, and it'll be in June, we'll have some very similar news to share. But I know that as your current superintendent and having my mentors share with me, anytime others can go on and we continue to influence communities, it's quite a treat. So congratulations, gentlemen. Thank you all.
Meeting adjourned.